Hey there, JP Meteorologist Matt Lopp on continuing to track some showers and thunderstorms producing strong gusty winds from time to time. Not a ton of new reports coming in on these storms, but just been kind of consistent areas where we've had some reported damage off and on today over the last couple of hours. It's really been here from Eupora back there closer to Winona, where again some spotty tree damage certainly remains a possibility out of the strongest of these thunderstorms. Looking here at kind of our loop on this will be, of course, our Mama Justice Doppler radar. A decent amount of lightning with these storms continuing to kind of show up. Our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut in our Tupelo studios there. He's been looking behind the scenes. We've talked a bit today about some of the hail and wind damage. Not a ton of reports. Do see we had something on Lebanon Road near the Euport area a little bit ago of a tree kind of split. Haven't had a lot of reports, but hoping we don't see more.
No, that's exactly right, Matt. Hoping that we can kind of put the peak intensity in the rearview mirror as we continue pushing further into the evening hours. Now, we are still discussing a few severe thunderstorm warnings out and about here in North Mississippi, and we can kind of highlight those counties affected right now. That's for portions of Grenada. Of course, you guys pretty much behind where those storms are actually occurring, but Grenada County, Montgomery, Webster, Choctaw, down into Atala and portions of Winston, and we also have portions of Carroll County included, and it looks like technically Holmes is also clipped into some of these warnings here, and I can actually move this out of the way because I was covering up some of that. But we're still dealing with pretty energetic storms. Our total strikes are up to 590 right now, so still quite energetic as these storms continue to rumble through North Mississippi. We were talking about that a lot earlier on today, but I would say kind of overall with the lightning strikes within this frame with these storms, not too bad because we saw, other storms have dramatically more lightning. One thing I do also want to notice or kind of point out, if we zoom out for all of our coverage area, we are dealing with a severe thunderstorm warning that has been issued for the most northwestern portions of Alabama. That's just north of some of our Alabama counties, especially for you guys out there towards Franklin or Russellville within Franklin County. So strong storms still kind of going up on there just across the state line. But at least for our coverage area right now, we continue to take a special look at these severe thunderstorm warnings going on kind of within the central portion of our coverage area. We can take a look at some of our cameras. I know our Kosciuszko one kind of always faces that one direction towards the church. We'll see if we can get any showers or storms in it. I don't think we do. So that's just northeast of the camera, but 86 degrees feels like 91. You guys will start to feel a little bit better after these showers and storms move on through. A little bit breezy, 13-mile-per-hour winds coming out of the north. Here's kind of a fiery sunset off in the distance mixed in with some of the flashes of lightning, heavier downpours. 79 degrees feels like 82, and you can see how energetic these storms are. A little bit better now through the blinding rainfall as that sun continues to set. We can actually see these flashes of lightning occurring nonstop practically, and then when that rainfall isn't quite as apparent, we can see that sunshine, or well, what's left of it, continue to kind of move on out of our area as that sun continues to set. Let's go out a little bit further west out here towards Winona. I don't know if this is live. I think that may have been from earlier on. So I don't think that one's pulling up real footage. That one may have been struck by lightning. Out here in Maben, we can actually see a few strikes just off screen, but at least focusing on drier conditions further out west for you guys, kind of closer towards the Mississippi Delta. But 79 degrees feels like 82. You guys have gotten some showers and storms, and I know y'all are hearing quite a few rumbles just on the doorsteps of y'all city as those continue to stay just a little bit further out west. So again, overall coverage continues to be a little bit less than what we were dealing with earlier, but we're still dealing with some impactful storms as they move through North Mississippi. Let's see when these are all supposed to expire. And they're kind of just all on top of each other, so it's going to be hard to get a good frame of mind, but it looks like we're talking around 7:45 to 8:15 to 8:30 for all of these different warnings. So we still have a ways to go, and actually it's 7:45 right now, so we might see one of these warnings clear on up to allow us to get a better visual on what's currently continuing into the next half hour or so and what's not. But we're still going to deal with just heavy rainfall moving through our region. We can take a look at our peak threats because hail has been a concern today, a little bit more for others compared to all of us here in North Mississippi. And I'll tell you right now where we could expect hail to continue falling. That's where you guys just outside of Winona. Take a look at how that darker shade of purple is starting to pop on up ever so slightly. We'll turn off lightning. That way you guys can see the colors a little bit better. It continues to be heavy, blinding rainfall. Which could influence the potential for some flash flooding. We actually saw flash flood warning earlier on in North Mississippi, thankfully not dealing with any at this moment in time, but we're also continuing to monitor the hail threat as that continues to be one of the things that we want to keep a close eye on. We can take a look at our hail swath presented by True Shield Roofing. I will say that I don't think hail will be as impressive as what we dealt with earlier on this evening. We're kind of hoping that these storms kind of already reached its peak intensity, at least kind of more with that daytime heating, that sunshine continuing to just kind of bake us here in North Mississippi. And all these storms are just kind of fighting over what's left here in the atmosphere. With how disorganized these are, they just continue to pop up everywhere. And we're starting to lose more and more fuel heading into the next few hours ahead. So that continues to be a positive thing, but we still want to make sure to stay weather aware heading into our evening overnight period. So let's sum up our threats here as we get ready for the rest of our evening. We're taking a look at our severe weather risk. We have been upgraded to that level 2 slight risk that happened earlier on today, and that's encompassing most of North Mississippi here as we're dealing with some of those severe weather threats. Now, tornadoes, that continues to not be a concern as we head into the evening overnight period. What you're seeing here, those green boxes, those are those severe thunderstorm watches. That is not a severe weather risk. If we were to be talking about one, it would look like this. Well, actually, a better one would be our hail. Take a look at that green. It's starting to blend in. I need to see if I can take off. Yeah, we'll just take off those watches really quick. We're talking about large hail risk across portions of North Mississippi, and that's what we saw earlier on today. I think that threat will continue to diminish into the overnight period. But if we take a look at wind, that's kind of what drew that level 2 slight risk to be issued here for portions of North Mississippi. So that continues to be one of the risks that we're going to continue to see throughout the overnight time period ahead. And then we can come back towards our radar, take that off screen. That way you guys kind of know what we're dealing with. I mean, take a look at those brighter returns down here close to Winona. That's where we're going to see most of our hail kind of continue to develop and maybe work its way down towards the surface. I mean, if we were to zoom in really tight on this, we can start to see some of those brighter DBC, or technically, I guess you'd say darker in this case, with them kind of getting over 60. I mean, we're talking about 67 and a half. Let's see if I can kind of see it, 65. I'll have to clear it every time. But yeah, we're talking about high levels of DBC, which means what it's picking up on, that radar beam, it's highly reflective and not, or just a lot of raindrops. And what's highly reflective up there in the sky in those clouds? Hailstones. So it is probably picking up on not only heavy rainfall, but the potential for some hail to be occurring out there. We can take a look at our echo tops, and of course, yeah, we're dealing with some tall clouds. If you were with us all the way at the start of our afternoon when we started tracking these storms before they became warned, this was coverage started at around 3 o'clock. We were dealing with echo tops all the way up to 60,000. We were talking about some of those bright pink returns. We're just 5,000 below that here, as you can see, kind of right within that red ring. So we're still talking about vertical, tall development with these thunderstorms as they continue to maintain its strength, kind of build up before dumping all of that out. So would not be surprised if we have kind of one of those hail cores within this severe thunderstorm that is still ongoing, which now that I've mentioned it, see if they did eventually. Yeah, okay, so one of those warnings has been removed. We're talking about this severe thunderstorm warning for Montgomery, Webster, Choctaw, and portions of Carroll. That is set to expire around 8:30, so still have another 40 minutes if they don't cut that off a little bit ahead of time. And then we have another severe thunderstorm warning a little bit further downstream with that thunderstorm ongoing, but that is set to expire at 8:15. So a little bit less time, not quite seeing the same level of intensity, especially as you can see here with the echo tops. We're talking about taller cloud tops further up north, located within that severe thunderstorm warning for Winona, Eupora, you guys out there towards Ackerman. I would say that that's a little bit stronger than what we're dealing with out there in Tala. But I mean, I mentioned that. Take a look at reflectivity. We're starting to see some of those brighter returns start to pop on up. So we could still see some of this vertical development continue to strengthen and intensify into the evening and kind of next few minutes ahead. So let me do this behind the scenes and pull up the chat. That way I can see any questions you guys have. Yeah, James is already mentioning that the Kosciuszko camera doesn't move, but it's live looking southwest. Okay, that's good to know for future purposes because I was wondering which direction that is at. Rumbling in Starkville at times. Yes, definitely probably hearing quite a few rumbles as it continues to move through North Mississippi. And honestly, I think those are all the chats we have right now. So not seeing too many chitter chatter out there, which is always a good sign when we're discussing severe weather. So you guys seem to be in a good spot so far, but we're going to continue to look at our threats. We'll take a look at our wind. Because this, I know somebody was asking yesterday, especially when we were talking about microbursts and kind of throwing that term out there, you could sometimes pick it up on radar if it's strong enough and just really apparent. But thankfully, I'm not really seeing any immediate signs of that at this moment in time with our relative wind. Let's look at storm. Again, we're really not talking about anything tornadic. That is not a threat today. If we're looking at our peak impacts, which always shows us worst case scenario, we're not even talking about that red color. That's the thing that I love pointing out for you guys, especially during these summertime months when we're dealing with severe weather. Tornadoes continues to be a big concern for a majority of us as we can have some storm PTSD or anxiety on what could occur within the next few minutes if we're under those severe thunderstorm warnings. If we were talking about anything tornadic or anything rotating, we would start to see some of that red pop up here on our peak impacts. That is not a concern. It's heavy downpours, damaging wind gusts, and the potential for some hail, which we've already seen several examples of here in North Mississippi, unfortunately, with some reports that you guys have sent in. So appreciate all of you guys for staying safe and doing so in a safe manner. We never want you guys going out there to look for it. We want you guys to stay indoors, stay safe. Of course, you can send things through the window. We definitely don't want you guys going out, or at least until it is safe to do so. So we're still dealing with some heavy showers, rumbles of thunder. We can turn back that lightning to continue taking a look at that here. Our total strikes are up to 623. If I were to move out of the way, that way you guys can see, I'm always covering it up with my head. Let's back this up just slightly to see how these strikes have continued. Oh yeah, we're continuing to climb. So around, oh yeah, we're just going to continue to see those strikes continue to build on up, which means these storms are overall fairly healthy. Maybe we're having just a small decline, but we're definitely going to see these kind of energetic storms continue into the next few minutes here, and these severe thunderstorm warnings ongoing here in North Mississippi. So let's come back to now. And we also kind of want to look at how the hail core has changed, at least with our peak impacts. It looked a little bit stronger just north of Winona, especially just north of Highway 82, just northeast of the city itself. And then the latest few scans has kind of dropped slightly, but we are seeing some southeast movement with these storms. So we definitely don't want to see this continue to sit on top of you guys for too long, especially with just how heavy this rainfall continues to be. If we take a look at our rainfall rate, I mean, these are just heavy amounts continuing to dump over you guys. So 7.6 inches just north of Highway 82, just east of Winona. For you guys out here towards Eupora, y'all are getting almost 2 inches an hour. Just northwest of Ackerman, 6 inches. Southwest of Ackerman, over almost 7.5 inches. And just south of Kosciuszko, I'm going to have to shift this south. I don't want to risk clicking the SBC and kind of take off all this. Let's see if I can get perfect spot right there, around 4.5, which that might be a little bit heavier. So we're still dealing with heavy amounts of rainfall. We can take a look at our rain totals, which I'd be curious to see how much we're getting out here towards this northeast or northwest of Eupora within Webster County. Let's take a look at how much this is. That's around 3.5 inches. Oh, I want to see what that was. Let's see if we got that a little bit higher, kind of with that darker orange pixel. Yeah, 3.7. So we're almost to 4 inches just northwest of Eupora out there in Webster County. So again, much needed rainfall, but we definitely don't want to deal with the severe weather that comes with it. Unfortunately, that's typically how it goes here in North Mississippi. When we finally get a lot of rainfall, it's typically due to some of these storms being on the stronger side, Matt, and we want to continue watching that as they eventually will continue to shift out of our coverage area.
Absolutely. And I think one of the things that we've fortunately seen is more and more examples of the good kind of pictures. You know, I see some sunset pictures coming in. I'll let you kind of log a few of those, some pretty ones here in a second, of really these same thunderstorms as they continue to, again, try to produce severe weather and knock on wood, not produce a whole lot there. Also add to this James's picture of the damage in the Uport area if we can.
Okay.
We'll look at that here in a minute. So okay. Um, as we kind of bring it in here to our remote weather center shop for a moment, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon again alongside our Caleb Edelblut. Uh, I'm dealing with some network issues, I think, here, which has kind of made things a little blocky from time to time. I think there's some additional equipment back there in the studios that we're going to have to reboot here. For one reason or another, it's gotten a little slow on us tonight, but just like sometimes your phone slows down, computer slows down, and that can happen with our stuff too. And so hopefully it'll pick back up here in a minute. But most of this storm here in and around the Pelez area, back toward around Poplar Springs, is below severe limits. Our severe threats, looking specifically at that there. And you can see how there are a couple spots along this line that are a little more intense or impressive than others. Right here close to Minerva, one of those locations, obviously, as well. Decent number of lightning strikes on that. We'll go from not just the peak threat, which what this is, but get it reinforced with our hail swath, where we look specifically for hail. We're still in the possible category. We have not had a lot of reports of hail recently, so possible a sign that maybe not actually occurring with that. 3D, the way in which we kind of evaluate these probably the most effectively. And looking 3D on these are not quite as tall as some of those other thunderstorms that we had a bit earlier on. And so anytime that's the case, that's a good sign, a hopeful sign that we'll continue to see going forward. Check something here. Try auto on that. There we go. So let's go ahead and slice through this. To kind of walk through some of those storms there. Yeah, I mean, most of your darkest returns are there a lot closer to the surface. And so you need to get those kind of pinks and purples once they're up 20,000 feet or greater. That right there for just a brief moment over Poplar Springs. We'll look closer at that in a moment. That's one of the spots where it's showing up there. And another little spot there up just north of 82 as well. So there are a couple locations there where that is the case, where we're starting to see a few of those kind of popping up. Go ahead and clear this off here for a moment and look outside of that near French Camp, another storm, and a couple others down here in Talbot County, but these aren't quite as tall or impressive. I think we can kind of look at the whole grouping there a little more closely as well. So again, slicing through the whole thing and walking from kind of north to south there. Yeah, south of Kosciuszko, that one looks like we have it a little bit above the surface as well there. But while you get a black return, it's more 10,000 feet. And the other storms, not quite there. And same thing with our storm near McCool. That one's a lot lower as well. So these are not as intense as what the storms were that we had earlier on. So in the possibly maybe category, as opposed to the absolutely causing some issues category like we had earlier. Now, up here into North Alabama, up there again north of Florence, that's kind of a bit of a different story. These definitely look a little more rough for some spots there. Let's go and clean that up a little bit. Checking the height on these and where it's putting the heaviest precipitation. I think we'll kind of migrate that from farthest away a little bit closer there. Now, I say that, and it's not quite as high on some of that. Well, let's check our camera up there. We'll go to Iuka. I might have to swing that one around and into that again. A shot here from our Mississippi Live camera there in Iuka, brought to you again by Farmers and Merchants Bank. There have been some storms in the northern part of Tishomingo County over the last 45 minutes or so that obviously have moved into West Alabama. Let's see if I can get that one and flip this one around just a little bit more. That's looking kind of northeast. Actually, that's the right direction there because you can see the flashes. We just any farther to the right there and we sort of lose our camera shot in the tower. So this is about as good as we're going to get on that one there at this time. Most of us, for as much as we've talked about storms today, it's a lot of leftover clouds showing up on most of our cameras there. And Amory, a good example of that. Just some of the sort of convective debris from showers, I should say. A couple little showers. If I move this side here, you can see showing up there on radar within the county. Hear the noises behind the scenes. That's good. Monitoring the severe weather risk for today from a few different spots. A couple of the cameras here of note going west to Clarksdale, where just again kind of leftover clouds looking back toward the west there. See if we got any of these that most of these aren't terribly impressive at this time. Tupelo, not the case. Again, kind of looking way back toward the west and northwest at the leftover clouds. It's really down toward Ackerman and Kosciuszko where they're a little bit more impressive. Again, Ackerman, the storm's kind of all around. The rainfall, the lightning still showing up on that one. I shouldn't say that these aren't impressive because clearly from that shot there, we're looking the correct direction. This one looking southwest. Unfortunately, we cannot move this camera. We'd want to go to the left a little bit more with the heaviest storm there. This on the Breezy News Tower down there in the Kosciuszko area. We'll slide up back down to Carthage. Back out of that camera there. Again, decent amount of lightning coming out of that storm. 86 degrees with a heat index of 91. Again, we got both cloud to cloud up there and then cloud to ground as we're looking back northward toward some of those thunderstorms up to the north of that toward Attala and eventually Choctaw counties farther to the north. Bring it back again. We'll go Choctaw County on that camera there. We might move Ackerman just a little bit. We'll double check that where that's looking toward the north. That's pretty decent direction for what we would hope and expect to see. It's a lot of lightning on this one. That's for sure as it kind of catches up here to our camera image. Just a lot of lightning. So some power disruptions remain possible out of that and some of the other thunderstorms that we do have. I do see a picture of some damage being sent in there. I think this is the Webster County damage earlier on that our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut was tracking a little bit ago. This from closer to the Eupora area where this is, Caleb. That's certainly a tree split in half, not something good to see. Luckily, no cars under it.
This was sent in by James, one of our storm chasers, showing that tree damage did occur. So wanted to highlight that on still some more damage pictures coming in. And Matt, let me know if my audio sounds good. I know people in the comments were saying it may have sounded a little staticky, so hopefully that's fixed. But still seeing some of that damage out there. But on the bright side, we're getting a whole lot of cloud pictures. Am I sounding good? Is that all right?
No, you're not. I was really hoping your audio issue was on my end. Would you switch with the other mic pack?
I can. I've been using the same one, but I can switch.
Yeah, let's change the other mic pack real quick. I'm gonna stick with it. Just unplug it, plug the other one back in real quick.
Sounds good.
I'll pop up that camera, and once you or that shot, and once you get over there, we'll come back. But yeah, so many great pictures like this one here. Kind of what we call the anvil cloud of the storms. On the top of that one, sometimes we call it an overshooting top. Yeah, there we go. Nice and centered up. A great, beautiful shot sent in using the Mississippi Live app. We'll bring Caleb back in here for a moment and check his audio and pray to God that everything's working with it.
Test.
Say something?
We're looking at a lot of fun clouds.
Oh, that's great.
Perfect. There we go. So maybe it's a box issue. We're going to narrow down the issues for Matt. Help him out here.
Oh my God, I've been trying to tech support that for 25 minutes.
There we go.
And I was certain that it was something else behind the scenes because they're also, every time we're doing the transition, I see the transition here. I need to see it real quick because the cut point's wrong on the transition. See? Because that's playing back too fast.
It is.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure out why that's doing that. But anyway, yeah, go ahead. Okay, I'll let you actually handle some of the pictures.
Okay, one problem off the list, and we'll add one more to it. But like our chief meteorologist Matt Laubon was just mentioning, we're enjoying seeing a lot more cloud pictures, or at least these thunderstorms out in the distance. Meaning most of these not as on top of us as what they were. Now, a few of us still dealing with these thunderstorms, of course, but it's nice to see them from a distance. I mean, beautiful, just tall vertical clouds. You can see that sun begin to set, kind of that golden haze, and then the still white puffy clouds further up top as that anvil starts at the tropopause and kind of spread on out. Believe it or not, clouds can only form so high, hits a level to where it's not possible anymore. We're seeing that here again with another beautiful sunset shot. That's a fun word to say back to back. Another great shot of this thunderstorm out there in the distance as that tall vertical development. Start to see that tropopause. It fans on out with that anvil. I know some people have already sent me message that there are a few crawlers or kind of the lightning that likes to kind of go on the top of these cloud, I guess, tops, not base. And those continue to kind of light up the sky as we're talking about some lightning. Here's a great shot of just some clouds, no thunderstorms, with some of those sunsets continuing. But speaking of lightning, I mean, constant flashes out here in Ackerman. I mean, 77 degrees. Thankfully feels like 77. So it's been a while since we could talk about that we're actually in the upper 70s by the, well, not even 9 o'clock hour. We're at 8 o'clock right now, so ahead of schedule. But unfortunately, that is due to some severe storms continuing to move through North Mississippi. That dew point right around 77 as well. So we're talking about rainy conditions as just a light show continues to be held.
Head over to the wall.
Do what?
Go ahead and head back over to the wall.
Okay,
I think I figured out the issue, by the way. We upgraded the version of our switcher software today, and clearly it has a couple of bugs with it. That explains the problem that we've had with some stuff.
All right.
Upgrades. Don't you love it when they're downgrades?
Gotta love it. Always a give and take sometimes. But let's continue taking a look at these severe thunderstorm warnings, giving a light show to us here in North Mississippi as that sun continues to set. This is honestly probably what was happening a lot during the thunderstorms that we were looking at earlier, just with it still being daytime, that blinding rain. We couldn't see those constant flashes. Well, now we can. So it is definitely a light show here, at least in Choctaw County. You can see out there with our camera in Ackerman, but we're still dealing with these severe thunderstorms as they continue to march through North Mississippi. This is actually the one out there in Northwest Alabama. So let's just zoom back out here, kind of reset for a second as we take a look at kind of what's currently ongoing here in North Mississippi. I'm meteorologist Caleb Edelblut with our chief meteorologist Matt Laubon. We're taking a look at some severe thunderstorm warnings. Now, for you guys further up north, I know it has been very active for you guys, especially out here in Pontotoc County. You guys are doing a little bit better, starting to get those outages back online and starting to see those numbers decrease. We're now focusing our attention to severe thunderstorm warnings further on south in our coverage area, kind of creeping through almost the southern portions of the Delta, but affecting you guys out here towards Webster, Choctaw, Winston, Atala, and then even portions of Carroll and Holmes. Now, I will say not really affecting you guys as prominent right now, but one of the reasons you guys are included in that is because one of the words of the week we've been talking about a lot are outflow boundaries. We saw it a lot earlier on today as kind of back building occurred out there in Pontotoc, but we could see these storms kind of start to shift a little bit and affect you guys out there in the most northeastern portion of Holmes County. So that's why you guys are included in that thunderstorm warning, kind of just to give you guys a good heads up before it makes it to y'all, and want to always make sure that y'all kind of get these alerts ahead of time. So let's zoom in here. We're going to continue to break down these thunderstorms as they continue to rumble just next to Oktibbeha County, the 8 to 10 Maben community. You guys not really seeing or getting much of it, which honestly, I mean, take a look at this just right outside of Kosciuszko. Take a look at those kind of the brighter colors starting to come back. We're talking, no, it's definitely over 52. Let's see if I can get that a little bit better here. 58. I bet we're over 60 with some of those returns. So we're talking about still tall vertical thunderstorms continue to develop. This is just south of Kosciuszko. This is honestly how our day started. Just a little blip on the radar, and that updraft just continues to really build on up and force all those rain droplets and potential like hail up high in the sky. So we're kind of seeing that again down here in the southern portions of Atala County where those thunderstorm or severe thunderstorm warnings have been issued. And wanted to make sure to keep you guys all included as these continue to honestly maintain its strength and continue building on up. So let's take a look at our peak threats here. I'd be curious to see what that hail is coming back. Yeah, we're talking about a little bit darker shade, and actually that latest scan just added some more. So we're talking about that potential force hail growing slightly. Again, with what our chief meteorologist Matt Laubon just said, I mean, I don't think we're going to be dealing with the same level of intensity as what we dealt with earlier today, but also we're just not out of the neck of the woods just quite yet, as we're still dealing with some of these storms being on the stronger side. So for you guys out there just south of Kosciuszko, y'all are going to deal with that. And honestly, I think we have a camera south, yes, out here, just south of Batala County. And let's see if it's facing north, because this is in Carthage. Yeah, I mean, a great shot at some of those thunderstorms that continue to just rumble, light up the sky. 86 degrees for you guys out there. Feels like 91. So again, in the grand scheme of things, where we have been during the 8, 9 o'clock hours, feeling like 91. Not too bad, but I know we'd like to feel a little bit better. But I mean, we can see those thunderstorms continue to slowly inch closer and closer towards you guys in Carthage. It'll still take a while if they were to maintain its strength. But I mean, constant flashes of lightning. These are energetic storms continuing to feed off of the energy here in North Mississippi. I'd be curious to see what our Philadelphia camera is looking at. We can kind of see some of that convective debris out there in the distance. A beautiful sunset. Not seeing many flashes of lightning. I'd be curious to see if what behind me might be the top of a thunderstorm out there in the distance, or more of that convective debris starting to kind of appear in frame. But not quite seeing or facing any of those storms at this moment, but at least beautiful for you guys. 86 degrees feels like 91. That dew point right around 70. So at least you guys staying dry. And actually, it looked like I saw a flash of lightning kind of off the rooftops. We might be looking the complete opposite way. So I might have to look at that behind the scenes and see if we can rotate that. I think it might be behind the camera based off the flash that I just saw. But again, I want to come back to Ackerman again, go through all of our cameras, as we're just still talking about energetic storms. This is actually kind of in the thick of it based off what we were looking at in Carthage just a few moments ago, with just those constant flashes of lightning. Is a lot darker here because that cloud cover really blocking the sunshine and lack thereof into the evening hours ahead as it continues to set. Let's see Greenwood, if that one's facing east, or there might be a pole that blocks it, because most of the time we look at our storms from the west. But yeah, there we go. 82 degrees feels like 93. So 11-degree difference for you guys not getting these stronger showers and storms. But we can see those flashes of lightning out there in the distance. Some of that just overcast gray, ominous looking clouds. Again, we're not dealing with anything tornadic. That is not a threat whatsoever. We want to continue emphasizing that. And it looks like that might even be some of that heavy rainfall. You kind of see a difference between that lighter view towards the horizon and a little bit darker. I would say that's probably our heaviest precip occurring with some of those thunderstorms out there just east of Greenwood, kind of facing towards the rest of our coverage area. Let's see if our camera up here in Mabin gives us a good shot. Again, we're dealing with some of those darker gray clouds. That lightning, I'm always covering up with this camera. I forget, it's right to the left. We can see some of those flashes, but again, 77 degrees for temperature. Feels like dew point, so 777s should be a good sign. Hopefully you guys are going to stay a little bit drier and not have to deal with that thunderstorm getting closer, but we're going to continue monitoring that in case it starts to make its way towards the east and closer towards you guys out there in Oktibbeha. And speaking of Oktibbeha, I don't believe that the warning, yeah, they're making sure to keep you guys outside of it. So y'all are not under that severe thunderstorm warning. They're expecting this slow development to continue. But let's take a look at this hail potential out here over Winona. I mean, you guys might be able to get a few hailstones. Now, I'm hoping it's not the same size and kind of intensity that we were seeing earlier out there in Pontotoc and Ecru. But let's match this up with our reflectivity. I bet it's probably having to catch up. I think it's what was over Hendricks. Might have been over that spot just a few scans ago. Let's see what that looked like. Yeah, there's the potential that that was probably dropping some hail just south of Fox, north of Highway 82, east of Winona. You guys probably could have gotten some hail probably around 15 minutes ago. That was around 8 o'clock, and it still just continues to slowly inch forward and kind of almost back build yet again. I mean, take a look at that. We're starting to talk about that heaviest precip and the potential for some hail just south of Fox. And I'll keep my finger there right along the edge. And look how it kind of shifts further west, kind of following that boundary, that back building continuing to occur and start to affect you guys out there in Winona. So showers and thunderstorms are going to continue, especially for you guys in the severe thunderstorm warning. So even though it looks like it's kind of moving further east, you guys are still included in the warning for a reason. We could still see some of those showers and storms kind of continue to almost travel along 82 towards you guys out there in Winona. Am I seeing things, or did I just kind of see that blip get a little bit bigger? Yep. I mean, take a look at that. Still some heavier downpours continuing to form just outside of the warning, not meeting severe criteria, thankfully. but we're still talking about just energetic storms continuing to move through the southern portions of our coverage area here. Let's see if our Macon camera would have a good shot. That should have both the sunset and the thunderstorms out there in the distance. If it, well, lacking a sunset. I keep forgetting it's already 8:15. Time's flying. As we're covering the severe weather, we're starting to enjoy, I guess, darker conditions as we get ready for the evening. But you can definitely tell those flashes of lightning further out west. Yeah, we're facing west at 268 degrees right now. Oh, there's a bolt right behind me. So we're still going to see some cloud to ground strikes that could cause some more power outages here in North Mississippi, which we could take a look at that here with our percentage and see how those are affecting us. Let's zoom out and kind of tally these. We're going to see these outages continue to grow further south. So we're talking about, yeah, take a look at how those continue to rise a little bit. Let's look at specific numbers. Yeah, there we go. So starting to see those continue to climb. We'd like to see those start to decrease, but would not be surprised for Atala, Choctaw County, maybe even portions of Winston here soon, if those numbers were just going to continue increasing. As you can see, all those lightning strikes, those are all bolts that are occurring right now, continuing to increase. Those are a big concern as we head into the next few minutes here, as these severe thunderstorm warnings are currently ongoing. So speaking of that, let's take a look at when they're set to expire. If we could see earlier expiring, or expire a little bit earlier, that would not hurt any of our feelings, but looks like we're on pace to continue to at least 8:30 or even longer. So 8:30 is when it's set to expire for you guys out here towards Montgomery, Webster, portions of Choctaw. I hate that Grenada is still included in that. I would not expect you guys in the southeastern portion to start seeing more storm activity. So hopefully they'll start shaving that a little bit for you guys. So those are set to expire around 8:30. Our severe thunderstorm warning actually further on south, I believe, got extended to 9 o'clock. So this is for Carroll County, portions of Holmes, Atala, Winston, and Choctaw as well. So we still got a ways to go until we can really stop talking about these severe thunderstorm warnings ongoing in our southernmost portion of our coverage area, and even looking a little bit further out west. I mean, quite a few severe thunderstorm warnings across the Mississippi River out there towards Arkansas. And I think this was something that one of our models we were showing earlier was starting to pick up a little bit. That could occur later on overnight as it slowly makes its way closer and closer towards you guys in the Delta. But as we continue into the overnight period, hoping that it doesn't have as much fuel or that remnants of daytime heating to kind of act on, but we still want to keep our eyes on that as you guys are enjoying dry conditions, but could start to see some of those storms creep in. Now, our Greenville camera might actually be facing west across the river. We might be able to see some of those thunderstorms out there in the distance. Yeah, this one's facing west. I don't know if we'll be able to see any flashes. I think it's going to be further out here and might just be off screen, but we might be able to see some of those out there in the distance. We can take a look at Rolling Fork. I just always kind of like going through our cameras. It gives us great shots on what's currently ongoing for you guys out here in Mississippi. So 88 degrees, unfortunately feels like 99, so 11-degree difference, 11-degree warmer. So still kind of feeling pretty toasty out there in the southern portions of the Delta. Let's go take a look out here in Cleveland. Y'all are at around 81 degrees, but feels like 84, so not bad as y'all are getting to wind down for the evening, get ready for y'all's Friday. Much anticipated into the work week as y'all are getting ready for a much drier and relatively cooler weekend, as drier air will start to funnel into our region. And that's due to these storms today. It's due to a front moving in. And although we have to go through these kind of stronger storms and that brings some of this intensity, we typically can rely and enjoy cooler, in quotation marks, conditions on the back end of it heading into the next few days, as this front is kind of pushing out that humidity, that moist air, and replaces it with drier continental air that's coming from further up north. And we all know the further north you go, get a little bit cooler. So that's going to help us out heading into the next few days here. Let's pull up the chat here. I see some of you guys talking. Somebody saying that we like the drier air. Yes, we do. I think we're all counting down the days and honestly hours until we can start to enjoy it. Got to the Sturgis bike rally. Oh, wait. Got the Sturgis bike rally going on they going to get wet? Yep, definitely heavy, heavy downpours out there. Hey, I'm seeing thunder in Lamar County. Will it get bad? And are there any chances of a tornado? No, there are no chances for a tornado here in our viewing area, but I mean, we can even zoom this out to look at it kind of for the Southeast in general. We are not dealing with that here in North Mississippi or any of our coverage area. Let me turn off those boxes again. It looks like we have a threat. We do not. We continue to stay pretty much clear from the risk of tornadoes. Now, you guys out there in Lamar County, y'all will deal with the threat for some hail, and I don't think y'all are included in the hail, which actually they took off. So that continues to be a good update heading into our evening overnight period. So the threat for hail has greatly diminished from what we were expecting and kind of what we saw earlier already. But you guys out there in Lamar could still see some damaging wind risk, especially with some of these thunderstorms if they were to develop on top of you guys. Let me turn all that stuff back on. And we can even talk about some of the hail that occurred earlier on today. But we are thankfully not talking about a tornado threat. So that continues to be a positive. And it looks like, well, there's more warnings getting issued out there in Arkansas, but it looks like the severe thunderstorm warning out there in the northwestern portion of Alabama, they trimmed that, and that's now all the way up into Tennessee. So almost moving technically north, or at least the warnings are, as those storms kind of keep its intensity a little bit further north. So you guys out there in Lamar, actually, let me move this over. I'm starting to see some showers start to develop for you guys. Let's see if I can, there we go. Taking a look here, especially probably hearing a few rumbles. We're only talking about 17 strikes all within this frame right now, but starting to see some of those downpours pretty much between Detroit and Soligent, just north of Highway 278. But Lamar as a whole for y'all's county staying mostly dry. It's the most northern third, starting to see some of those showers start to pop on up. Somebody else asking, what are your thoughts on the storms coming up through Arkansas for North Mississippi? This is something I was just thinking of and kind of talking about just a second ago. I'd be curious because I know her model that we were showing earlier did have some storm and development trying to kind of push into North Mississippi for the Delta within our evening overnight time frame. And we can see that, I mean, they're definitely pretty intense, kind of acting off of that fuel further out west. I do like the direction that they're continuing to head, as far as it's not a straight kind of eastward direction, kind of beelining for the river. We're going to continue to see just slow movement in the most southeasterly kind of direction, but we could maybe start talking about a few showers and thunderstorms out there for the southern portions of the Delta, but the overall severity and kind of intensity, I would hope and kind of expect that that should continue to diminish. I mean, each hour that we continue moving further and further into the evening, that daytime heating gets cut off. We are already seeing some storms here in North Mississippi. Now, we haven't seen any development out there in the Delta yet today, so storms technically haven't eaten up any of the fuel out there. But once that sun begins to set and we're just not quite as hot and toasty as we are throughout the daytime hours, it helps to greatly limit that severe weather threat heading into the overnight period. So that continues to be a positive, but we want to make sure to continue to keep our eyes on that as it slowly makes its way closer and closer towards North Mississippi. And as I'm saying that, I think we just got a flash flood warning. Let's see if I can get that. I might have to look behind the scenes. Yeah, flash flood warning that will expire in around 2.5 hours. So we're still dealing with the potential for flash flooding concerns as this rainfall just continues to build up here for our area and then start to just kind of sit still. So let's take this full screen as we continue to analyze that as we're taking a look at heavy amounts of rainfall. We'll take a look, and actually severe thunderstorm warning just got issued yet again. And notice, I mean, it looks hectic because these storms aren't really going anywhere. We're talking about several warnings kind of almost just triangulating over one area, and that's because these thunderstorms just can't really decide where they want to go, and they start back building, and that's exactly why this warning got extended or pushed a little bit further out west as we're seeing some of that development start to shift kind of along Highway 82, working its way closer towards Greenwood, but making its way towards the westward direction. But again, they're not really moving anywhere. I think the best way we could say it is they're just continuing to almost develop or build on up. They're not really moving as a whole before moving on out. And that's why rainfall and the potential for flash flooding is a huge concern, as we just saw that flash flood warning get issued. So let's take a look at our accumulation. And that's what I was curious about, because I was talking about this earlier and we saw that those rainfall amounts already pretty high and the storm hasn't gone anywhere. So we're talking about 3.7 inches just northwest of Eupora, which we might just need to go. Yeah, there we go. Let's just go to past 12 since we have been doing this for a while. I mean, we've seen some heavy showers. Let's turn off those icons. We'll zoom in a little bit closer to get some good readings on what's happening for you guys out there towards Eupora. Flooding concerns and pretty much just off of Highway 82, just outside of Grady, getting some heavy rainfall. Let's take a look, probably right in the darkest portion. So almost 5 inches of rain. And I don't even know if that is past, yeah, 6. It'll be between 3 to 6 hours. This is not all happening within a 6-hour time period. This has been pretty recent. So that's why that flash flood warning has been issued. We saw that earlier for Pontotoc, as several reports have been sent in of flooding, whether that's in the ditches, backyards, front yards. Our meteorologist Gabe Boehner, he was out there seeing it in real time, reporting that as well. So definitely that continues to be a concern as these storms continue to move through North Mississippi. So we're talking about heavy rainfall, and we can take a look at our threats again, because I think wind and hail, wind would be a little bit greater than our hail concern at this moment in time. And let's take a look at reflectivity. Okay, yeah, so for you guys out there in Eupora, starting to enjoy drier skies, so hopefully the drainage system and everything will start to catch on up as that storm has shifted just slightly south of Highway 82, so it just took that long to pretty much cross the highway as it makes some development just a little bit further south. But we're still talking about a few brighter returns. You can kind of see some of these pink and purple starting to pop up just a little bit here with our radar, which typically means we're just talking about heavy amounts of rain, and then the potential for some hail as well. We can see kind of some of those darker purple starting to pop up just a little bit on some increased confidence. So let's take a look at our hail swath. With our hail threat presented by True Shield Roofing. I mean, definitely not out of the question. I think our best chance to see some of that hail that has probably fallen would be just outside of Winona. I think that's probably our best bet on where we probably did see some hailstones make its way down towards the surface. That was just north of 82, and we can zoom in just so you guys can kind of see some of these darker returns, but we were looking at reflectivity earlier, so it's for pretty much Fox, Hendricks, just east of Winona. You guys probably got some of that, the hail as it kind of eventually made its way down through the downdraft and made its way towards the surface. The good thing is, with how heavy this rainfall is, that helps it to already start melting. And then with how warm, unfortunately, we are here at the surface, well, technically, fortunately, in this case, that will help kind of get those hailstones melted pretty quick and not dealing with it as intense. So let's continue to take a look at reflectivity. And I want to see, we'll turn lightning back on. I mean, again, just energetic storms. We're now up to 827. I don't think those are starting to downtrend. I think we've just continued climbing. Yeah, unfortunately, those just continue to build on up. I think when these warnings started getting issued, if we can go back that far, not within the hour, let's go past 2, 4. Okay, yeah. I mean, these have been going on for a while. We're all the way back towards 6:30, and we're talking about 500 lightning strikes, and these just continuing to build and form and just kind of sit on top of these respective counties for quite a while. Again, it's still slowly making its way further and further southeast, but we had to go all the way back towards 6:30. So it's almost been 2 hours, and we didn't have to zoom out or zoom in or anything. We just stayed right in the same graphic, and we're dealing with these showers and storms for a while. So this is at around 8:30 now, current time, and we're dealing with around 831 total strikes. So very energetic. We can come back to current right now just to make sure it continues to update and we don't get left behind. But we're still tracking these severe thunderstorm warnings. I'm moving out of the way. That way I'm not covering up any of it for you guys. So this is for, let's see if I can frame this a little bit better. That way we're not covering up anything. There we go. We're talking about a severe thunderstorm warning for you guys out there in Carroll, closer towards Holmes and Atala, Winston, Choctaw, and portions of Webster County. Unfortunately, Grenada is still included. I think the reason they're keeping you guys there is because we have started to see some of that storm to back build yet again, kind of further up west, but it's not quite making its way closer towards you guys in the southwest or eastern portion of Grenada County. So I wish they could clip that out, but I get why they're keeping it there just in case we do see some more of that to occur. But it continuing to make its way further towards Grenada County, I just don't see that happening right now, or at least in the near term. So I think I would wish that they'll start shaving that off throughout the next few updates. But these warnings, it's hard to pick out which one's what. We're going until, well, this one was set to expire around 8:30. So hopefully that one will, there we go. Perfect. Well, we're dealing with one less warning, looking a little bit less messy, as now where it's kind of just two defined severe thunderstorm warnings, one set to expire at 9:15, the other set to expire at 9. So we still have another 30 to 45 minutes of these warnings. And honestly, with the track that they're on, would not be surprised if they go the entire way. I don't know if we'll be able to shave them off unless we can really start to see some downtrending occur within the next 10 to 15 minutes. And thankfully, that warning, it was bugging me. Y'all heard me keep talking about it. The one that just expired was including portions of Grenada County. So you guys are now good as those storms continue to push ever so slightly further southeast, but still very, very energetic. Let's take a look at our cameras. We haven't done that in the past few looks. Let's see here. Out here in the Aden kind of Mabin community. This is the west side of Starkville. 79 degrees, feels like 82. And I mean, just dark, overcast clouds kind of above you guys. That lightning and heavy precip continues to stay outside of Oktibbeha County. We're not talking about any of that for you guys just yet. If we were to see anything, it's probably going to be for the most southeast or western portion of the county, kind of along the corner, but really not seeing much activity for you guys out there in downtown Starkville, the Mississippi State's campus, throughout all the neighborhoods. So thankfully y'all continue to stay dry, but I know y'all are probably hearing quite a few rumbles continue to ring just west of the county as y'all continue to stay dry. So a good shot out there in the west side of Starkville and Oktibbeha County. Let's take a look out here in Mabin officially. 79 degrees, feels like 82. I don't know which way this one's facing. I need to move this behind the scenes, so bear with me as I do that. Yeah, we're looking at our Mabin camera, and I'm going to move this ever so slightly to the left, and we're going to see if we can kind of get a better shot of that. It'll take a second to catch up. There we go. Now we're looking a little bit too low to the ground. Let's bump that back up ever so slightly. See some of that lightning continuing to ring. See if we can get a perfect shot here. Oh, well, there we go. We're getting closer and closer towards the storm, so at least a better view of it. So yeah, there's that energetic storm. It's about to catch up here behind me, and I'm going to be covering up most of it. I mean, just constant flashes out there in the distance as that thunderstorm, not affecting you guys out there in Mabin, but pretty much just southwest of you guys out there towards Choctaw County and getting closer and closer towards Ackerman. I mean, constant flashes of lightning. So we're in a very energetic setup. That could cause more power outages. That's a concern. Let's take a look in Ackerman as this storm is now going to be pretty much almost on top of you guys as it gets closer and closer. 79 degrees, feels like 82. You can see where our camera is relative to the storm. So that continues to stay just further west, but right on the outside of the warning. So not included just yet. Your phones have not gone off completely, but could see that potentially getting extended depending on how it continues to maybe develop and shift further and further east. But our camera, it kind of feels like y'all are already in it, dealing with some of those thundery, just rumbling conditions down there. So again, our Kosciuszko camera doesn't move. I always just like looking down here, seeing what we can see in the background as you guys are well within that warning currently ongoing. They said it looks southwest, so we're not going to be able to see anything. Besides, it looks like a blue light police car or something. That one's new. So there we go. But 84 degrees, feels like 88. Once these showers and storms continue to push closer and closer towards y'all city, y'all will start to feel a little bit better. So there are some positives that come with these storms, but we definitely don't want to deal with the severity kind of throughout. I'm losing my train of thought. The severity throughout the rest of the evening and overnight period. Somebody else in the comments, they're saying lightning in Winston. And then we're already back up to the question about the thoughts on storms coming from Arkansas. So that's honestly good news that I'm not seeing too many questions or comments in there. That means you guys are not worried and y'all are enjoying y'all's evening. That is how it should be. Want to make sure to keep you guys updated as these severe thunderstorm warnings continue. We're now down to 2 warnings here in North Mississippi, but we've been covering this for a while. Let's zoom back out for any of you guys that are tuning in. Most of North Mississippi returning to calmer conditions here as we saw a lot of activity further up north, especially for you guys out there in Pontotoc. Y'all basically experienced every threat that we discussed for today. Y'all endured most of that throughout the afternoon and evening, and these storms continue to push ever so slightly further south, southeast, where we're dealing with that severe thunderstorm warning. And that continues to move ever so slightly further south, and we can still see some of that development just south of kind of that main cluster. But we're talking about energetic storms as they just continue to ring and light up the night sky throughout the past, well, honestly, we could say throughout the past few hours, but very noticeable now that the sun has set, and we continue to head into the rest of our evening hours. And one thing I do want to point out, we love doing storm tracks for you guys to give you guys timing, but with this setup, it basically just kind of sits on top and just doesn't move. So we aren't really able to give you storm track, because if we were to do it by the 5 to 10 miles, we'll let you know that, hey, the storm could be there an hour from now, but that it could very well not be a thing. So we want to continue just kind of now casting almost and let you know what's currently happening, where it could start to shift. That way you guys continue to have a good proper heads up. Now, I will say you can kind of see almost a thin box up here. That's that aerial flood warning. This was after that flash flood warning occurred earlier on this afternoon for Pontotoc County. We saw several reports. Our meteorologist, Gabe Mander, he was out there, but that kind of came after the flood warning, I think, expired, or they may have done it a little bit earlier, but still kind of dealing with some of those effects at this moment in time. But a flash flood warning, it's not gonna, I'll have to take it off. Let me go back behind the scenes and do that. That way we can continue talking about that. Put that, oh, I forgot it'll take the entire thing off. Let's see if it'll let me click it anywhere, or is it always going to be the watch? Well, that's a shame. I can do it behind the scenes. The flash flood warning, that is set to expire within the next 2.5 hours still, unless mine has not refreshed. Let's see. But we're still dealing with that as heavy rainfall continues to affect you guys. Okay, 2 hours and 22 minutes. So still have a ways to go with that flash flood warning, but that's just due to that heavy rainfall. But as you'll see here, I'd be curious. Let me click out of that. Looks like it missed it. As you'll see here, kind of within that flash flood warning, and especially that area, we're starting to see that rainfall start to leave it. So hopefully that's it, and we don't have to talk about any more warnings getting issued. But if these storms were to continue dropping heavy amounts of rainfall and just continue to move very slowly, we could start to see another one get issued, but that is not the story just quite yet. So hoping to keep it that way, and I'll make sure to monitor our chat in the background to see. But we're still talking about, okay, that was the tree reported earlier on. So there's a tree down blocking the roadway around 440 to 450 block of Clarafoot Road. I think that's what we were talking about earlier. So we're still taking a look at this severe thunderstorm warning. Very energetic. We're almost about to hit almost 900 strikes. So these just continue to climb, showing that these storms are just very healthy as we continue heading into the next few hours, but really wanting these to continue pushing out of North Mississippi so we don't have to deal with them all night long. But that continues to be something that we're keeping our eyes on. Let's go back towards our Philadelphia camera. Let me clear my throat. See what that is showing us out there in the distance. Of course, quite a few flashes of lightning. 84 degrees, feels like 88. That dew point right around 70. I think we're not experiencing calm wind. I bet it'll be a little bit breezier out there, so I don't think that one's getting reported very accurate. But I mean, you can see, oh, there's great freeze frame. We just saw a bolt come on out. This is all rain that's occurring. And we saw that just due to a lightning strike out there in the distance, showing you guys that heavy precip and then kind of drier conditions further out here. You wouldn't guess it until we saw kind of a lightning strike kind of illuminate the sky, at least further out in the distance, closer towards the surface. and that one's still not doing its justice. But we saw for a brief second, which is how heavy that rain continues to fall. It's kind of a drawback during the daytime. Oh, it just happened. I was covering it up. During the daytime, it's a lot easier to see those bands of rain continue to fall and kind of jut out, bringing some of those gusty winds, and we can't see the lightning. Now at nighttime, we can see the lightning very, very easily, and we're not seeing that heavy rain quite as dominant as what it was. How long till the storms pass through the viewing area here in Alabama? I will say models will kind of showing that those are going to just start to develop and continue throughout the next few hours, or at least they were very aggressive on the storms kind of in the northwestern portion of our region. So it depends on where you are here in Alabama, past the viewing area in Alabama. So I'm assuming you're talking about Franklin, Marion, Lamar, Pickens. I think for the most part, those storms, they're going to continue to stay further north, and we're going to still see somewhat of that southeasterly direction. To where, I mean, development is still possible as this kind of front continues to sit over North Mississippi, providing some lift. I mean, we can see some of that activity trying to start out here towards Marion, Lamar, but we're not dealing with that same level of intensity. That continues to be a positive to where if we are dealing with it, I mean, it's a little bit energetic, but not the grand scheme of things. Total strikes are coming in at around 9. I'd anticipate those to kind of climb just a little bit as we're kind of seeing some new ones pop on up, but a little heavier downpour just outside of Rock City between that and Lynn, or just west of it and kind of right on the county line. But as far as seeing those storms develop, still have a ways to go if we were to see that. But that's why we want to keep our eyes on not only here in North Mississippi, but what that looks like heading into the evening overnight period, which is, again, something we'll discuss a bunch coming up throughout the next few hours here. Somebody else saying the lightning looking towards Amory was phenomenal. I know, I think a lot of us, especially once we can get out of these thunderstorms, watch it from a distance. It looks fantastic and we can enjoy that, but we definitely don't want to be right under it. So I think that definitely will kind of put a sour taste as we're wrapping up the evening for those still under the severe thunderstorm warnings. But again, once we get out of it, it looks pretty nice. So we're going to continue to zoom out here, continue to focus on what is happening here within our coverage area and kind of the surrounding areas, which means I probably just need to zoom out. Honestly, let's just do Mississippi entirely. We're dealing with several severe thunderstorm warnings. That's not only for our coverage area, but more towards central and southern Mississippi. We're dealing with some west of us out there in Arkansas. We're dealing with some east of us out there in Alabama. It's just kind of the pattern that we're in as this front continues to dig further into the southeast, bringing some of that cooler, drier air, colliding it with that humid, moist and stable air we've had to deal with throughout the past few days here. And once we get that with the energy that we have here in our atmosphere, we can get quite a few storms to pop on up and then be on the stronger side with all these ingredients that we have in place. Let me see here. A new discussion just got posted and I want to know how long they were expecting these to keep going. Burst of strong severe downburst. That was another term we were talking about yesterday. The wind gust could continue for another hour or two, but hoping to start to see kind of a downtrend. So we still have a bit to go with these storms continuing to kind of pop on here in North Mississippi and just kind of maintain its strength. But as you can see here, for most of our viewing area, you can definitely tell where that activity continues to be and where it's not, so we can start enjoying the rest of our evening and heading to bed, which I'll pull up my other radar behind the scenes. That's the convective discussion they just posted and talking about maybe watch. Okay, so yeah, that's further into central Mississippi where kind of this cluster is continuing to head on out. So, oops, I zoomed out a little bit further. Let's go back to North Mississippi here. As we're dealing with some of these showers and storms continue to move on further and further south ever so slowly. We're dealing with this flash flood warning, which of course I still can't click on, unfortunately. And those severe thunderstorm watches you can kind of see mixed in that green. Those are those watches that were issued earlier on today. But we're dealing with the severe thunderstorm warning for Montgomery. Let's see, Carroll, and now I need to distinguish the two. Okay, there we go. So we're dealing with it for Choctaw, Montgomery, and Carroll. That is set to expire at around 9:15. But we're also dealing with another warning encompassing more of your viewing area, or at least your county, for Carroll, down into Holmes, Atala, Winston, and Choctaw yet again. That is set to expire at around 9 o'clock. So I'd be curious to see whether or not they continue this warning, and if they're still seeing that severe weather with it, or if they're kind of confident that it's remaining below severe limits as these storms just continue to ring out throughout the night sky. I mean, energetic regardless, but we're hoping not to see the wind gusts or hail associated with it. And speaking of hail, let me turn that off so we can kind of see this a little bit better. And let's go take a look at our peak threats and see how that has kind of started to shift. Oh yeah, that's doing a lot better. You see, notice how it's a lot of that kind of lighter shade of pink, and we're really not talking about that darker purple starting to pop up, especially you can see here on the scale. We have been talking about that quite a bit throughout the afternoon hours and into the evening, just due to the capability of some hail here in North Mississippi. We've seen the evidence. We've seen you guys send in reports. Thank you so much for doing so. It allows not only us, but the folks down there in the National Weather Service to know what these storms are capable of, or what they are actually providing and kind of dumping out, and that helps them understand when to extend, keep warnings, start to cancel them. So y'all have done a fantastic job today, and I hope everybody continues to stay safe and we can hopefully limit the amount of damage throughout the rest of the evening. But the hail threat, I would say, continues to decrease. We saw that with our severe weather threat outlook just a few minutes ago as we were talking about the threat for damaging wind gusts, what prompted that level 2 to be issued and kind of upgraded here in North Mississippi. We were initially talking about that large hail risk. We saw it earlier today. They have since withdrawn that from North Mississippi, and believe that the hail threat is pretty much kind of over, at least with its peak intensity, heading into the rest of your evening overnight period ahead. So that continues to be a positive. I do like that we're seeing kind of the lightest shade of pink here, meaning the confidence very minimal. And again, this is peak impacts, and it's almost kind of more situated for kind of severe weather season, where we see these fronts and widespread kind of higher end events occur. So this is kind of during the summertime. It can maybe overdo it at times. So that continues to be good, that we're even on the smallest scale of confidence and not quite seeing that. We can even take a look at our hail track. I think this is going to pick up on a lot of stuff from earlier on. I am also very curious to see if you guys just southeast of Kosciuszko did end up getting some of that hail, because if we were to go back, so just kind of remember where that was. I'll see if I can keep my hand still while I switch this over. We'll go probably past 2 hours, and I'm going to make sure I have it lined up. I'll go back to reflectivity. If we were to back this up, I remember seeing some of those brighter returns. Yep, right around there. So would not be surprised if some of this storm kind of kicked out some of that hail, lofted it through the updraft, and kind of just spit it out here in the southern portions of Atala County. I mean, you could see just those dark returns that we're getting here. Let me zoom in for you guys. That way y'all can see exactly what I'm talking about. And we can pixel this so you guys can see that actual measurement. See, there we go. And then click on it. Yeah, this is when I was talking about we were definitely over 60, and it would only pop up around 50, so I wasn't getting it in the right spot. 66.5. That means the radar beam up in the sky is picking up on either a lot of rainfall or something really, really reflective. And typically with a value like that, it's picking up on something highly reflective, kind of scattering that beam back towards the radar site. And that means we were probably dealing with some hailstones lofted up in the updraft that the radar beam kind of picks up on as that storm was continuing to build on up with its strength. So would not be surprised if you guys out there just southeast of Williamsville towards Dodds, Smyrna, north of Nile, you guys probably saw some hail in the southernmost portions of Atala County. But thankfully, if I were to zoom this out and we kind of see how this has trended, it's not quite keeping that same level of intensity. We saw how it starts kind of dying on out, still dumping heavy amounts of rainfall. We can almost see some more start down here. And I think that's because another warning has just been issued. So we're going to deal with that, continuing to push kind of further into max south or coverage area. And it just continues to kind of just see a train of these severe thunderstorm warnings continue to push further and further south as these storms are inching. I mean, not even really moving in that southeasterly direction. They just slowly continue to move further and further down there. So let's even take a look with our Jackson radar site. See how those storms look. A little bit stronger down there towards McGee, Collins, just south of Forest. This is kind of for central Mississippi, so not within our coverage area, but we're still dealing with some of these showers and storms being on the stronger side as it continues to move on out of our area and digging further and further into central Mississippi. So this warning was issued, and that is set to expire at around 9:45. This is for Leake, Neshoba, Kemper, Lauderdale, and Newton County, and I'll actually need to move this over. Yeah, so Newton, and that's set to expire around 9:45. I'd be curious to see what these other warnings are when they're set to expire: 9:30, 9:15, and 9:30. Okay, so we're going to hopefully see those warnings start to expire at their respective times. And I am personally curious on the warning that we have here in our viewing area, at least one of them. I think our northernmost one has a good chance at expiring at 9:15. Let's see if this is, yeah, it's pushing further and further southeast, and I'm not seeing too much kind of back building. So that continues to be a good sign. Yeah. Okay, so I'm expecting that. And they just issued another one. So there we go. It's going to continue to be a mess here. This new one that they just issued is for 9:45. As they are trying to give everybody a good heads up on these storms continuing to just ring through the night sky, and just quite a few rumbles of thunder. I mean, we could take a look at our cameras yet again out there, and let's go Maben, because I set that up, the west side of Starkville. Let's do the West Starkville camera. That should be a good one. I think, unless it was the Maben one. I think it was that one. Yeah, there we go. We still have this one at a good spot. 79 degrees, feels like 82. And those flashes of lightning continue to ring just left of this camera. And I think I'm going to go with my gut. I'm pretty sure it was Maben. That was the camera I moved to get a better visual on those storms. Now, it may have inched slightly out of the frame, but we're still seeing quite a bit of that energy continue to just ring out. And I know it's probably just very loud, constant rumbles of thunder. Anybody trying to go to sleep right now under that severe thunderstorm warning, probably not enjoying it, as just it's constant rumbles of thunder just continuing to crack and just loud no matter where you are under those warnings. So those are going to continue, unfortunately, as we're still dealing with just energetic storms moving through North Mississippi. The National Weather Service down in Jackson really giving everybody a heads up as these warnings continue to be issued with this cluster as we continue pushing further and further towards the 9 o'clock hour here in the coming minutes. So we're going to continue to monitor these as they continue to slowly move further and further south. Somebody else asking, what about Tishomingo County tonight? We can zoom back out again, kind of reset here. As you guys are enjoying dry skies, we were talking about some severe thunderstorm warnings just on the outskirts, pretty much of the county line out there in northwest Alabama. We can back this up for you guys to where that was occurring. Let's see. Yeah, you guys probably already got most of y'all's activity with that storm eating up a lot of energy further up north. That was around the 7 o'clock hour. That shifted and pushed a little bit further east where we saw that severe thunderstorm warning actually occur. It's not a good visual because we're using our Jackson radar sites. Let me switch this over to the one out there in Columbus and Monroe. You guys were dealing with that severe thunderstorm warning earlier on. That was around 7:43, excuse me, not Tishomingo County, but northwest Alabama was. And that has continued to edge closer and further east and away from you guys out there in Tish. So overall intensity, I would say that y'all are still good, but most models continue to push more and more thunderstorms kind of within the overnight period. I think our peak intensity occurred earlier on today, and what we're kind of dealing with right now, kind of as far as like the remnants of severe weather, hoping that that is not going to continue into the overnight period as that daytime heating just continues to be cut off. We're not dealing with just the constant influx of heat and allowing all those warm kind of air and parcels to continue rising, but these thunderstorms really acting on what's left here in North Mississippi before it can officially move on out of our area. So we're still dealing with quite a few warnings on the southern portions of our viewing area. And if you'll excuse me here, I'm going to walk off screen just because I need a sip of water because I've been talking for a little bit. I want to make sure I can keep going for you guys. There we go. I feel a lot better. We're energized. We're ready to go. But we're still taking a look at these severe thunderstorm warnings that are continuing to push pretty much into Atala County. I'd say you guys are experiencing most of the action right now, which means before we do that, let's take a look at our Ackerman camera, as you guys probably aren't in that blinding rainfall anymore. And I might have to shift this behind the scenes. It looks like we're already getting a good visual on that. Let's see. Ackerman. And then we want to look probably southwest. So we're looking northwest. Yeah, okay. And if I were to move this, we have a preset for it. Let's see where that'll take us. Okay, there we go. And then if we were to shift this just ever so slightly back, and then just a little bit further down, gotta be a little bit nitpicky. There we go. So yeah, still very energetic. You can see a droplet still on the camera lens as you guys were dealing with some of that heavy rain, but I mean, still quite a few drops on the camera lens as the lightning continues to flash out there in the distance outside of Choctaw County. You'll see behind me, y'all are still dealing with several severe thunderstorm warnings, but the overall storm and intensity, that continues to stay further out west. So you can barely see it kind of clipping the county with that rainfall, but you guys still under those severe thunderstorm warnings just in case it continues to kind of build and inch closer and closer towards you guys. So I think the National Weather Service, especially with the pattern we've been in lately, what they're doing is making sure you guys kind of understand what is going on around your respective area. Even though you guys probably aren't under it, it could continue to shift and kind of build up and inch closer and closer towards you guys. So that's why they're issuing all these warnings, to give everybody a heads up and make sure they all know everything that's happening. Excuse me, I clicked off of our analysis mode. So there we go. Let's continue to track several severe thunderstorm warnings down here in the southern portions of our viewing area. I think our northernmost one, that is set to expire at 9:15. So we still have another 20-ish minutes to go. But I think our I think we had one that was going to expire at 9, and that's probably not there anymore because they started issuing these that are set to expire at 9:45. So yeah, we still are dealing with quite a few warnings. This is for portions of Choctaw, Montgomery, Carroll, portions of Holmes, Atala, Winston. Now we're getting closer towards Philadelphia, so Neshoba County, and towards Leake, and even further on south towards Scott and Newton, Mississippi. So we're still dealing with these severe thunderstorm warnings to continue kind of affecting you guys further south of our area as these severe thunderstorm warnings continue to just kind of get issued. And you could take a look at kind of the overall, let's see, we're around 8:57, so let's just go 7:57. Perfect. So this is where we were at an hour ago. I can't say started. We've been at this for a while now. But we can see that thunderstorm pretty much along Highway 82 almost, even a little bit further south. And if we just go an hour, I mean, you can still see the further kind of progression of it dipping further south. But I mean, it's not moving that far. If we were to measure that out, I mean, I know some of these showers were starting a little bit earlier. I mean, 30 miles. But even that is overdoing it. These storms aren't really moving at 30 miles per hour. We would see these clear out of our area a lot quicker than that. They just kind of continue to form, build, sit, meander, I think is almost a better word on the placement and kind of progression of these storms. We're not seeing an organized system or a frontal system that we would see kind of during the severe weather season here in North Mississippi, kind of a just widespread showers and storms pushing all across our region at one time. We're just kind of dealing with just a disorganized pop-up showers and storms building on up, bringing all of its mass up there before dropping it all on us. And that is just going to continue into the evening as we see several severe thunderstorm warnings just continue throughout the rest of the next few kind of, I guess, hour ahead as we're going to continue pushing towards 9:45 or is when most of these are set to expire. In fact, I think most of these in frame. So this is 9:45. That should be 9:45, 9:45, 9:45. I think our only one is this one further up north, which makes sense. That's set to expire at 9:15. Would not be surprised if it didn't take us that long to get there, just because we are seeing that southerly, southeasterly kind of progression of these storms to continue digging further south, and you guys pretty much almost out of that severe weather entirely. So not expecting this one to stay for too much longer. They might keep it towards 9:15 just in case it does backbuild ever so slightly. But we're going to see that one leave pretty soon, and then we're just going to deal with the other three that are still kind of almost on top of each other, but showing the progression on what these storms have been taking, what they could continue to take throughout the next few well, I would say hours, just with how slow they're moving, but we don't really want to deal with it for the next few hours. At least for you guys out there in Atala, y'all aren't going to deal with it for that long. It's just going to continue to push further and further out of our viewing area before dying on out completely. So again, very disorganized, very messy. It's all kind of fighting over the same moisture and fuel out there. And like I keep mentioning, the sun has set. We're hopefully not going to deal with more, well, we're not going to deal with more of that daytime heating, but we want that to continue to kind of not play a factor as we head into the evening overnight period ahead. Now let's take a look at the comments. You guys were asking, are we good in Amory, and what about Boonville, Mississippi? So let's take a look at that here. Somebody else is commenting about different phones saying that there's 2 small rotations just south. We're not dealing with that today. I know sometimes the Barron system will like to kind of highlight an area for us to look at if we're missing it. That is not part of the, or that's not really on the table as we go about the evening overnight period. We're not dealing with anything tornadic or anything rotating. Now, me and Gabe are looking at some storms earlier that they would kind of look like they were going to try.
At Vibe Aesthetics and Wellness, we believe confidence isn't just how you look, it's how you feel. From subtle, natural aesthetics to personalized wellness care, everything we do is intentional. This is beauty with purpose. At Vibe Men's Health, we take that same approach. We focus on what matters most: strength, energy, and performance. Built on real data, real medicine, and real results, we're here to help you look better, feel stronger, and live fully. Come vibe with us today.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 9.
Oh, I forgot I probably should walk over there because that's where this show is going to start. But let me just bring it over here towards the wall as we're dealing with more severe thunderstorm warnings ongoing here in North Mississippi. Thankfully, we're not quite seeing that same level of coverage that we were seeing earlier on this afternoon and evening, especially for you guys out there towards Pontotoc. I know y'all dealt with several threats earlier on today as we were talking about heavy wind gusts, the potential for some hail, some flash flooding. Y'all pretty much had all of that occur within y'all's respective county and further up north. Now that activity has continued to stretch further on south as it inches closer and closer out of our viewing area and more into central Mississippi. In fact, if we were to kind of zoom this out for you guys to see what's all happening within the Magnolia State, it's pretty much just a direct line of severe thunderstorm warnings just continuing to extend further and further south. So that's the development, the movement of these storms, even though feels like they're not moving, and that's honestly because they're not. We're staying pretty still and just inching further and further south, southeast. But we're also talking about some severe thunderstorm warnings further out east for you guys along the Alabama-Tennessee state line. We're also talking about some further out west for you guys out there in Arkansas across the Mississippi River. Just kind of a moist, unstable air mass here in North Mississippi colliding with that cooler, drier air that is starting to funnel into our state. That will help us feel a lot better heading into the evening overnight hours, or at least throughout the next few days. But we have to get through kind of these stormy conditions first before we can really start to reap the benefits. And that's why we want to keep you guys updated on it currently ongoing here in our viewing area. But right before we wanted to start the 9 o'clock broadcast, I know you guys were asking about Tishomingo County, Amory, Boonville. Y'all are staying dry at this moment in time and should be throughout most of the overnight period. I've had the opportunity to kind of check the latest models here because we've been looking at kind of everything ongoing right now, but some models have put in some showers and storms continue to develop into the overnight period. So I'd like to see how that has changed eventually when we get to that coming up here in the next few minutes. But y'all are enjoying much drier and calmer skies. In fact, we could take a look out of our Amory and Boonville cameras here. So let's take a look at that here. Hopefully they're all still online. I don't think we received too much activity out there in the Boonville region earlier today. 82 degrees, feels like 91. That's a sign that y'all didn't receive too much. Y'all are still feeling a little bit warmer than those temperatures outside. 9 degrees warmer to be exact, but really enjoying clearer and dry skies and kind of some of that convective debris out there in the distance. But let's take a look out here in Amory and Smithville region. You guys are also dealing with dry skies. 77 degrees, feels like 79, so doing a little bit better off out there in the northernmost portions of Monroe County, but feeling just slightly warmer. But again, upper 70s at 9 o'clock. Not too bad, especially for this time of year. We're typically talking about still low to mid 80s, and a few of us, unfortunately, kind of in the 90s. But that continues to not be the story for most of us. There was a flash of lightning out there right before we switched. Out here in Amory, 77, feels like 77, dew point 77. So 777s, that should be a sign of good luck heading into the evening overnight period. That continues to be a good sign as we're enjoying calmer conditions further up north out there in Monroe County. Now let's transition here because I know we did start the 9 o'clock, so I can switch this back. I don't think I actually have the clicker on me, so I might have to grab that off screen. Of course, I won't have that saved here. So we could take a look at some of that model data as these severe thunderstorm warnings continue. We've been covering that for a while here. They're going to kind of continue to sit still here. I'll load in my show here behind the scenes. So bear with me for a second as that continues to work its way in and start to load on up. But everybody's continuing to tune in. I've been pretty impressed with lack of comments. That's always a good thing with severe weather as far as not having too many questions or concerns. Y'all continue to do pretty good heading into the evening. So it seems like y'all are feeling pretty good. Let's take a look. We'll start off with our surface analysis, kind of see what's going on behind the scenes within our atmosphere and why all of this is occurring here. So we have this cold front, and that's a little bit further north and might be just a little bit behind, but that's going to continue to try to make its way further south into the southeast, and it's funneling in that cooler and drier air into North Mississippi, and that's why we still have chances for maybe some showers and storms to develop overnight. I think the overall peak severe weather intensity, that's currently ongoing, but we can't quite escape those rain chances just yet heading into the overnight period. So let's actually take a look at some of this model data. This will be the latest look at it. And I think I'm gonna have to go in and I'll just manually drag it because I don't have my clicker, and we can go through it piece by piece together. So we're starting off around 9 o'clock, already not doing the best job with placement, but it's also not doing a terrible job. I mean, most of North Mississippi staying dry. We are seeing those heavier showers on the southern portion. That should be shifted just a little bit further to the west. But we are dealing with some of those heavier showers in northwest Alabama and right along the state line. So in the grand scheme of things, not terrible, but honestly kind of underperforming some of it, especially with central Mississippi, not seeing too much of that activity. But as we drag this over, it is okay, continue at around 10 o'clock, continuing closer towards midnight. We're still seeing that development, say, a little bit further south. But as we get closer towards 1 to 2 o'clock, take a look at how that front starts to enter North Mississippi. And it is just, oh my goodness. Let me back this up. I don't know if I can do it on this monitor. Okay, let's see. I think it's, if I look at this, it'll look a lot better. Okay, there we go. So we're starting off around 1 to 2 a.m., starting to see some more of those showers and storms kind of push into North Mississippi. This is due to that cold front bringing in some of that cooler, drier air, still colliding with some of that humidity, that unstable air mass. And that continues throughout the overnight period, but we're really not seeing those long track just intensity as well. We're going to deal with some lingering moisture in the early morning hours, but as far as like heavier downpours, rumbles of thunder, that's going to be, at least of right now with this latest look, that's between 1 to maybe 3 o'clock before it already starts kind of drying on up. And as we continue throughout the rest of our early morning hours, still some development a little bit heading towards mid-morning, closer towards lunchtime. And then we can start enjoying those drier skies as we head closer and closer towards lunch and into the afternoon hour. So when we were talking about those rain chances for your Friday, most of that's going to occur kind of within the overnight time period into your early morning hours. There's still always the chance with the afternoon storm chances, but now that we're talking about drier air finally making its way into North Mississippi, those afternoon storm chances really start to diminish. So that continues to be a positive, and especially if we see some of that morning activity. That's what we're going to see a lot of coming up here throughout the overnight period. So let's take a look at the next 24 before we'll send this to a break here. It's just struggling. One more. There we go. Let's see if it'll get there. There we go. And we're just going to click that. We're going to let that be. We're taking a look at our next 24. We're dealing with some of those showers and maybe stormy activity a little bit earlier on before 6 o'clock, before we can start drying on up, dealing with that lingering moisture, starting off in the mid 70s, working our way up towards the low to mid 90s. You can already tell we're starting to feel somewhat of that relief creep into North Mississippi. For you guys further up north, y'all will enjoy it a little bit more. And as we head into tomorrow evening, still dealing with some afternoon showers and storm chances, but really not as dramatic as what we've had to deal with throughout your Monday, your Tuesday, your Wednesday, especially today. Those rain chances going to be much on the lower side of things as we get ready for some Friday night football. That will continue to be a positive and hopefully enjoying drier conditions. But coming up in the next 60 seconds, we're going to take a quick break here, but also discuss your news and all the questions that you have for, I guess, news related here in North Mississippi. Our Emily Leonard will be covering all of that, giving you the very latest, and then we'll make sure to get back towards our severe thunderstorm warnings currently ongoing here in North Mississippi before they kind of creep on out of our area. So all of that will begin coming up in the next 60 seconds as we continue right after this break.
When C.K. Little opened his doors in downtown Corinth nearly 80 years ago, his plan was simple: deliver excellent service and exceed expectations. That's why we say a little gift goes a long way.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Reserve your St. Jude Dream Home giveaway ticket by August 28th, and you'll be eligible to win the house and a bonus prize, a 2026 Polaris Ranger, courtesy of Dream Day Foundation. Visit dreamhome.org or call to reserve your ticket today. For years, it's been the same formula. If it bleeds, it leads. You deserve better. We are Mississippi Live. We're focused on the stories that matter to you, to your community, to your family, because local matters. We are Mississippi Live.
Friday, August 21st, don't miss the Tupelo Super Show benefiting St. Jude, featuring the legends of Memphis Wrestling. Reserve your seat right now at memphiswrestling.tv.
Serious, man. I actually drive better when I'm live. It just helps me focus. It just helps me focus, you know?
I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's meteorologist Caleb Edelblut.
Well, thanks for sitting here with us for Mississippi Live at 9. We'll have our Emily Leonard come up here in the next few minutes, but let's take a look at our 7-day forecast as we're still talking about rain chances tomorrow. Now, we're at 20% coverage, and most of that's going to occur throughout the overnight, kind of early morning hours as we cross midnight into those AM hour period. But we're starting off in the mid 90s and kind of sticking that way into the weekend before we can start talking about low 90s. Rain chances a little bit more prominent on your Monday as we can continue enjoying cooler skies. and still return back to that summertime pattern heading into your next work week. Now, temperatures right now, or current conditions, 77 degrees here in Tupelo, feels like 99. Still seeing some of that southerly wind blow in around 5 miles per hour out of the southwest to be specific, but eventually we're going to start to see that arrow come out of the north, and that's what's going to make us feel a lot better heading into your, well, I guess weekend coming on up here soon. Now let's take a look at Futurecast. I might have to manually drag it because the pause points might be a little bit different and not where I want them, but we're going to see these stronger storms continue to push on out of our area, and we're going to return to dry conditions briefly before we can start talking about some more stormy conditions pushing in kind of throughout the overnight period. Now, not really seeing that same level of intensity as what we dealt with earlier, so really hoping to not be kind of a overnight threat as we get ready for our evening period and kind of into our Friday morning, but still going to deal with some of those showers as we're starting off our Friday morning work commute and getting ready for the last day of the work week. And then we're going to be set to go heading into your weekend. Now, low temperatures looking pretty fantastic. We're actually talking about low 70s all across our region, especially for you guys in pretty much the most northern portion of our region, coming in 71 in Corinth, Iuka, and Red Bay, 71 out there in Hamilton. Not bad to start off a Friday morning and getting ready for the weekend. Starting to show that relief. It is making its way here to North Mississippi, and we can start finally enjoying it together. Now, your school day forecast, low 70s by drop-off, upper 80s by lunchtime, mid-90s by the last bell. Those rain chances, again, going to struggle a little bit more tomorrow, not off the table completely, but with that drier air starting to funnel into North Mississippi, that's going to make us not only feel a lot better, but enjoy these conditions a little bit longer. So let's take a look at Futurecast. This is that front that's going to continue to move into our region. As we continue pushing through kind of the early morning hours, we're dealing with some of that lingering moisture, but we're already enjoying clearer, drier, and sunny skies by 12 o'clock tomorrow, as that front will bring in some of that northerly wind. We can see it just a little bit further north across the state line out into Tennessee, but we're not going to deal with that relief just immediately, just quite yet. Still take a little bit to kick in, but take a look at that. Northerly wind continue to allow us to feel a lot better heading into your Friday afternoon. That's at 3:30. Not quite talking about those rain chances either. We're going to continue to stay dry and enjoy some Friday night lights as football season kicks off for high school. It's going to be a fantastic evening tomorrow. Hope you guys tune in. It is going to be a great time. Now, high temperatures. Again, two different stories depending on where you are here in North Mississippi. Low 90s in the most northeastern portion of our region as you guys are enjoying that northerly air blowing across a little bit earlier and longer, but still triple digits for the southern portions of the Delta, 101 in Greenville, 100 in Belzona. Depending on where you are, depends on how hot you're going to be. Now, feels like values following the same trend. We're finally actually talking about double digits here in our viewing area. Going to feel fantastic as we're getting ready for the weekend ahead, but a few triple digits continue to linger, and with that, heat advisories will as well. Now, more and more counties continue to be clipped out of these advisories as we head into your Friday tomorrow, but they are set to expire tomorrow evening, so we're going to have to deal with it one more day, but hopefully come Saturday into your Sunday, more and more of us won't have to worry about it, and we're going to feel a lot better. Now, your severe weather risk, we're not really talking about that for your Friday, as drier air will continue to move into our region. This is going to be a great change of pace, as it feels like we've been dealing with almost every day here in North Mississippi. So let's take a look at your strike model now as we get ready for your Friday evening and into the overnight time frame. I'm going to press play on that, and hopefully that will do a little bit better. So we're starting off around 6 o'clock. Strike and her agreeing on those drier conditions continuing here in North Mississippi. That continues to be an excellent thing for our Friday evening. As we continue even towards the 10 o'clock broadcast, absolutely fantastic. Make sure to tune in. Very excited to start off our Game of the Week broadcast yet again for the upcoming football season. It's going to be a grand old time. But heading into the rest of your overnight time period, we're going to continue to stay dry and clear. It's going to be a fantastic start to a Saturday morning and the official start to the weekend. Still enjoying those dry skies. And as we get ready for the lunchtime hours, those rain chances a little bit more prominent further out west, out there towards Arkansas. Most of North Mississippi continuing to stay dry, but those rain chances, this is why they're not off the table completely. We can see some of those showers try to creep in the most northwestern portion of our region, affecting some of us here in North Mississippi. But as a whole, we're enjoying these drier conditions across a majority of North Mississippi due to that northerly wind continuing to push on in. So that will continue to be the theme heading into your Saturday and into your evening overnight time period. Not quite talking about those rain chances just as much as we have been throughout the work week. So hopefully we'll start to kind of enjoy a much calmer and just more enjoyable weather pattern heading into the next few days. Now, your high temperatures continue to improve. We're now talking about mid to low 90s across North Mississippi, 92 in Red Bay, 93 Iuka, 94 in Boonville. But again, for you guys out there in the southern portions of the Delta, coming in 101 in Greenville, 100 in Belzona. Not too bad if 2 zeros follow behind that one if we were to talk about triple digits, but I know you guys are really looking for some relief, and y'all are going to start to get there. We're talking about dry heat. So you were coming in at 100 and 101, but feels like only 103 and 102. So not feeling dramatically warmer than that temperature outdoors. We're not quite talking about that humidity and that unstable air mass here, because what's occurring right now is driving all of that out of our region. So again, we're dealing with that severe weather now, but heading into tomorrow, the weather pattern starts to shift for the better. We're going to feel a lot better. And one way to tell just how nice we're going to feel heading into the next few days is your heat indices. Take a look at that. We just continue to decrease. I mean, this is our peak throughout the next 7 days. Feel better on your Friday, even better Saturday, even better Sunday. It gets even better on your Monday. So it's going to be a fantastic start to the next work week. We don't want to talk about it yet. I know we are looking forward to our weekend, but of course that mugginess, it can never stay away from North Mississippi for too long. We're going to still deal with some of those humid conditions come midweek next week. Now, take a look at your 7-day forecast again. We're talking about those rain changes. That's going to occur overnight into your early Friday morning hours before we're still talking about a much drier weekend on your Saturday and Sunday. Again, can't quite escape the rain changes completely, so kind of imagine 10% on your Saturday and Sunday. As of right now, Saturday looking a little bit more prominent on those rain chances if I had to pick between the two. But again, we're talking about drier conditions continuing to funnel into our region. And then come Monday, we're talking about low 90s, and that's going to continue into the work week as that humidity will slowly start to build on up, which brings some of those storm chances back on your Wednesday, and we'll just return back to that summertime pattern. But let's take a look back here an analysis to take a look at those severe thunderstorm warnings that we're still having to endure here in North Mississippi. We're actually out there in Alabama, and there we go. That northernmost warning that we were talking about kind of towards the top of this show has ended. And I don't know, I want to know if they ended it early or if it was at 9:15. Let's go back and see. Oh gosh, I'm going way too far. Okay, 9:10. I bet they went all the way. 9:15. Yep. Okay. So that's going to continue to be the theme, especially with how slow these storms are going to continue to be throughout the next few hours, or at least, I guess, next hour or two here for our coverage area. They're going to keep these warnings going pretty much until the last minute, just with them barely moving out of the warning and continuing to kind of just develop and sit still. So we still have another 25-ish minutes to go on this severe thunderstorm warning out there for Holmes and Atala and portions of Choctaw and portions of Winston County. You guys are all under that, and technically even portions of Montgomery and Carroll. Y'all are still under that warning. Now, the good news is that expires at around 9:45. I believe this one does too, further on south. Yeah, 9:45. And then 9:30 for the one out there towards Newton. So hopefully within the next 20 or so minutes, we can really start to escape these warnings unless they start to issue more. Would not be surprised, especially with how this one is going just south of Kosciuszko, starting to cross the county line out there towards Leake, Mississippi. So that one continues to try to keep its strength, and we can take a look at this a little bit closer now as we continue analyzing these storms here just outside of our viewing area. I mean, take a look at those brighter returns. We're actually going to have to take off the lightning for you guys to see this. I mean, that is what we're talking about with blinding rainfall and the potential for some hail heading into the evening hours. And I guess we're really much into the evening hours. It's about the overnight period. So let's take a look at our threats. I would not be surprised if are we looking out of Columbus or Jackson? We were looking out of Columbus. So let's take a look at the threats with that. It's probably a little bit darker. Yep, there we go. So we could start talking about some hail just north of the Atala County line, kind of bordering with Leake County. So we're going to continue to deal with some of that hail as it shifts further and further southeast ever so slightly. So make sure to continue staying weather aware, stay indoors, don't go out looking for any of it. Of course, we'll keep our eyes on any reports that you guys have for those potential hail sightings down there in the southernmost portions of Atala County, but would not be surprised if maybe we were talking about pea to dime sized hail. Don't think it's reaching that 1 inch in criteria. I mean, we kind of struggled to get there earlier. Now, we definitely had quite a few reports and examples of 1 inch in diameter or greater. but we also had a lot more kind of going in the right direction for those storms to produce that. I don't think we're quite at that level here at 917. So I think we're going to continue to stay sub-severe with hail, but it's not completely off the table at this moment in time. And of course, for any of you guys tuning in now, we're not discussing any tornado threat throughout the overnight period ahead. This continues to be wind-driven, partially hail-driven. They have removed that, but as you can see here, we could still deal with P to dime-sized hail kind of dropping through. Looks like Matt's calling me really quick. Hello? Okay, perfect. Sounds good. And I can just advance it? Can I just advance it, I'm assuming? Oh, okay. Okay, I'll continue kind of going through threats, and then once I'm done with threats, we can do it. Okay, perfect. So yeah, let's take a look at the threats just one more time, and just to recap this before we go cover our news. We could deal with some hail here the southernmost portions of Atala County, but heavy rainfall continues to be the main concern as these warnings are set to expire within the next 20 minutes. So coming up in the next few minutes, we will continue to discuss these severe thunderstorm warnings as they get ever so closer to expiring, before we could potentially see some more continue, but that will come up right after this break.
Hello and good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us here on Mississippi Live. I'm Emily Leonard. Thursday's storm seemed to just sit over Pontotoc County and just stay there, dropping rain, hail, and lots of wind. Mississippi Live meteorologist Gabe Maynor went out to the community, hearing firsthand what happened.
Cleanup efforts are ongoing after a severe thunderstorm moved through Pontotoc.
It is what it is. You can't fight Mother Nature.
Tommy Robbins was at work when the strong storm moved through the area. When he got home, he couldn't even get into his driveway.
Well, we've got this tree, 2 more in our main yard. It's going to take a little while.
Tommy's home wasn't the only one to receive damage. Up Friendship Road, Miss Charlotte Jenkins had her own damage to report. Her barn had the roof completely ripped off. When she walked out the door to see the damage, she described it in one word.
Blessed, because it could have been a whole lot worse, but it's not. It wasn't my home, it was my barn.
Looking back on the storm, both Charlotte and Tommy are feeling grateful.
I'm just thankful that there's no more damage than what we got.
And I think everyone in Pontotoc would agree with Tommy.
Time to go to work.
That was our Gabe Maynor reporting for us. Itawamba County's new courthouse plans are getting close. Board President Donnie Wood says the project is in the design and development phase as architects work out electrical, HVAC, and other details. And this is what it could look like. Here's the timeline. Construction documents are expected late September, early October, with bidding to follow in October and November. Just one snag. A circuit judge requested courtroom layout changes, pushing the timeline back just a couple of weeks. Wood hopes demolition site prep will be ready for new construction by early spring of 2027. The project is estimated at $16 to $17 million. The county's already set aside $14 million, mostly from state funding. Wood says the goal's pretty simple: build it without raising taxes on Itawamba County residents. By the way, the old courthouse will be torn down to make room for the new one, but they are looking at ways to preserve its rich history. $1.3 billion. That is the price tag on 170 construction projects currently underway at Ole Miss. Chancellor Glenn Boyce says that the work will shape the university for decades, calling it advancing our mission. Big ones to know: new student housing at Kincannon and West Row, a new School of Accountancy building set for spring of 2029, and a new parking structure and data center upgrade are both expected to finish early next year. Now, beyond campus, several fraternity and sorority houses are also under construction or renovation, including new houses at Alpha Chi Omega and Sigma Alpha Epsilon. He announced he is running for Mississippi Attorney General and just a couple of days ago, and he already is on the campaign trail. Current Commissioner of Public Safety Sean Tyndall spent a little time in Tupelo this morning as part of his campaign kickoff tour. He started in Gulfport and Jackson. Today, he was at Crave in downtown Tupelo and then went up to South Haven in the evening. Current Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch announced earlier this month that she's going to be running for governor, so her seat's going to be open. The general election is set for November of 2027. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Mississippi Live. I'm Emily Leonard.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's meteorologist Caleb Edelblut.
Well, big thanks to our Emily for giving us the latest on news. Let's continue analyzing these severe thunderstorm warnings, and we'll keep going as long as they are here to keep you guys informed. To recap here and kind of just start from the top, we're dealing with severe thunderstorm watches you can see here on the green boxes. That's for pretty much the southern half of our viewing area, and those are going to be set to expire at around 10 o'clock. So still have another almost 30 minutes to still deal with that. And it looks like we're actually not at the current. Let me put that to now. I want to make sure we're looking at the latest stuff here. So we're starting off around 9:29 right here, and we still have a ways to go until kind of these warnings clear on out. Most of those set to expire at around 9:45, so another 15 minutes or so as long as these continue to not get extended or more get issued, but we could see more development further on south. Northern half of our region, our coverage area here in North Mississippi, you guys are staying dry, but like we talked about before our break in the news, could start talking about a few showers and thunderstorms continuing to push into North Mississippi overnight tonight. So we're going to keep our eyes on that, but of course, before getting ready for the next batch of storms, we got to get through this one first. So we were looking at the peak impacts. Before we cover that, because we just were on that, let's take a look at reflectivity here as that continues to inch further and further south, kind of out of our viewing area of Tala County. Let's see if our cameras have a good spot. I'm just going to have to keep looking over here. Let's see if I can line that up, time it just right. Oh, goodness. Let's see if we can get that Ackerman camera on. Let's see. That should hopefully pull it up. We're not getting there? Whew. It is struggling. All right, let's try again. I think that one got it. All right, we're probably going to see quite a few flashes of lightning south because this should still be facing that way. Yep, wow, on cue. Great bolt from the cloud all the way to the ground, which means, unfortunately, we could still be dealing with some power outages as these energized storms continue pushing further and further south. So if they were to strike a tree, it falls on a power line, strike a power line, we could still deal with that heading into the next few minutes, kind of more and more into the evening overnight period. But 77 degrees out there in Choctaw County within Ackerman feels like 77, but we're just talking about constant flashes of lightning with those storms as they continue to push further and further south. Again, struggling to, which now that we are talking about storms further south, we might be able to see some of those flashes with our Kosciuszko camera. You guys are under that warning. Yeah, there we go. So 81 degrees feels like 84. We were saying you guys would feel a little bit better once these storms, unfortunately, eventually make their way closer towards you guys, but we're still dealing with some of those showers, and I'm starting to think that that's not a police car. That just might be a new blue light they installed because I haven't seen that before. Wow. Okay, so there's some more cloud to ground strikes as we continue seeing that out of this camera down there in Atala County and the Kosciuszko. So energetic. I mean, you are going to continue to hear these just loud cracks of thunder as they continue to just rumble through North Mississippi. So for any of you guys probably within the severe thunderstorm warning and are trying to go to bed, unless you're a deep sleeper and aren't bothered by thunder, you might have a little bit to go until you can really do so peacefully, at least without the loud noise continuing out there in the background. Looks like raining and flashing again in Atala County. Well, there you go, Jason. We're looking at that right now with some of those bolts continuing to make their way down towards the surface, unfortunately. Lights out in Singleton, Mississippi. That was reported by Trey in our comments. We have somebody else tuning in from Starkville, Mississippi, Laurel, Mississippi. So glad to see you guys all in the chat. And let's take a look at our power outages here. We'll have to do it through links here. This is, let's see, that's not going to do it right there. It's going to take a few seconds to kind of catch on up. Let's just take a look at kind of our numbers there. There we go. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to pixel some of this as well. So down here towards Atala County, I mean, we're going to continue to kind of increase, unfortunately, as we're up to 1,000 customers without power in Atala County, 100 in Choctaw. Let's get closer towards Eupora. That's around 200. And let's see if I kind of put this, I just saw something get taken off. Was that a watch? Yeah. Okay. So Alabama already, it looks like some of the severe thunderstorm warnings are actually kind of being pulled off as well. Oh wait, let me actually take off the power just maybe the entire watch came off. I think it may have just been for Alabama. Yeah, okay, so we're still dealing with some of those severe thunderstorm watches in place right now. Those are set to expire at 10 o'clock, so National Weather Service down there in Jackson probably going to continue that all the way up until the 10 o'clock hour before they reevaluate and decide whether or not we still need to see those around for a little bit longer. If we were to see some watches get extended or issued, I think it'll be further on south from our area, as you can clearly see that that's where most of the activity continues to occur, further on south. Let me clear DBZ's off and move that further on south. Yeah, it just continues to inch further and further south, kind of into central and southern Mississippi. So if there were to be another watch issued or in place, I think it's going to affect you guys down there towards central and southern Mississippi. But for us here in North Mississippi in our coverage area, I'm not expecting to see that continue heading into the next few hours, at least once those are set to expire in the coming 30 minutes or so. But let's continue to break down these severe thunderstorm warnings that are ongoing here, kind of in the southernmost portion of our viewing area. We're starting off out here in Atala County, and we can see that flash flood warning a little bit further north, but thankfully you guys not getting much more of that rainfall at this moment. So hopefully the drainage system, all of that can start to kind of catch on up. Let's take a look at the rain rate with these storms. I mean, they continue to be heavy to extreme, pretty much within most of these storms all across North Mississippi today, dumping much needed rainfall. But again, we don't need it that fast or in such a little amount of time. Our ground drainage system, it can only take in so much at one time. And it's kind of a lose-lose, especially because if we haven't received rainfall in a while, it takes a while to catch up. If we have seen rainfall in a while, the ground's already soggy, it's taken in a bunch, and it'll struggle to kind of keep ingesting it almost. And we've seen quite a few showers and storms throughout the past few days here. So flash flooding concerns, that has been one of the topics and kind of threats that we wanted to emphasize with you guys. And we've already seen 2 of those warnings get issued today. But if we were to take a look out here towards Kosciuszko, kind of within that pink shade, we're talking about 4.5 inches per hour. We can start to see some of that extreme appear just north of Carthage. I mean, we're talking almost 8 inches an hour. If we were to line that up with reflectivity, I mean, there you go. We're talking about some of those brighter returns, and it is just heavy, heavy rainfall, blinding rainfall. Now, I would hope most of us are kind of settled indoors, not really having to worry about that, as we are not really trying to get to any evening overnight plans, that we should be kind of ready for the rest of our night to get ready for our weekend tomorrow. But we're still dealing with some of those heavy, heavy downpours, blinding rainfall, constant flashes of lightning. And the reason that these warnings are kind of really weird on where they issue and they're not set for counties is because we kind of continue to see this development of just heavy downpours continue to pop up here in North Mississippi. And so that is why for you guys out there in homes, although the showers and storms were kind of further northeast compared to Yoss County, it continues to shift south, but we can still see some development further out west, and we're still seeing that at this moment in time. So for you guys out there, and Carol, I think you guys are almost good to go throughout the rest of the evening once this continues to push further on south. Hopefully not going to see too much backbuilding. We haven't seen that as much as we did earlier this afternoon and evening. But we can still kind of see some of those heavier downpours kind of the southernmost portion of Carroll. But for you guys kind of just south of Winona, north of Vaden, just southeast of Greenwood, I'm not expecting you guys to have to be in that warning for too much longer. So although typically they probably shave it, they're probably going to keep it the entire time before this will expire within the next few minutes. So we still have a ways to go, but we're getting closer and closer with these warnings. And I think, let's see if they're all set to expire within 9:45, 10:15. So there we go. We still have that one further on south outside of our coverage area. That's set to expire at 10:15. So a little bit longer for that warning. But for us here in North Mississippi, We're getting closer and closer towards drier skies. I can zoom this back out. That way you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about here. We're dealing with this warning kind of for you guys out there towards Winston, Choctaw, Tala, Holmes, Carroll County. That is set to expire at 9:45, and then those warnings are kind of south of our region, and we're enjoying temporary break from all of these showers and storms, and really not wanting to deal with any of that severe weather component heading into the overnight time frame. So that continues to be good news. We do still see some of those severe thunderstorm warnings continue to kind of fire off further out east towards northwest Alabama. Models did pretty good. We were discussing that earlier on this evening at around 6 o'clock with those broadcasts that we had. And we could see kind of some more showers starting to build on up in northwest Mississippi with those models. And we're starting to see that right now, the 9:30 mark, which just makes me want to go back and kind of continue to see that model to see what it had throughout the rest of the overnight period. And look at that. I covered up for you guys. Let's see. I'll reenact it. That way you guys can kind of see what just happened. I'll move it out of the way. There we go. We have those severe thunderstorm watches out there in the Delta. And then if we go to current conditions, you guys are now out of it. So that continues to be a positive, not expecting much more of this severe weather to occur into the evening overnight time period. So seeing more and more counties get shaved off from those watches. And that's exactly what we want to see as we continue to wind down for bed and get ready for our overnight period so we can officially kick off our Friday morning and almost to the weekend. So that continues to be a positive. So let's continue to take a look at the severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go look at our cameras, and we could take a look with our Starkville West camera. That should probably still have a good visual on everything happening down in the distance with quite a few flashes if it were to load. And let's make sure we're looking the right way. Let's see. Let's look behind the scenes. Starkville. Because I know we're not too far away. Yeah, we're looking too far northwest, actually. Let's look further on south and move this over. Don't want to go too far. It always kind of lags behind. Of course, it's not spinning here. I'll just have to come back and do that behind the scenes. It is, oh, there we go. Starting to see some of those flashes of lightning return. There we go. And we're starting to see some of that stormy activity a little bit further on south. There's those constant flashes. We can move this down just a little bit so we're not looking too high in the sky. Oh, there we go. We almost got that. Perfect. Yeah, there we go. So still great visual on some of these storms continuing to fire off further on south, away from Oktibbeha County. So you guys are good. Y'all are still staying dry and uneventful, which is always good here in North Mississippi. We'd like to keep it that way. But let's go take another look out here in Ackerman as these storms continue to push further and further south. You guys almost out of the warning entirely, but still Choctaw County dealing with some of those showers and storms, some of those flashes of lightning. I was actually about to start covering it up, kind of occurring on the middle and right portions of your screen here. But 777s, that continues to be the theme all across our region. So that's definitely a good sign that we're returning back to calmer conditions as these continue to push further south. But we're still getting great views of kind of these bolts that are still occurring, which is unfortunate because that also means we could still deal with power outages. That's what I keep mentioning every time we talk about these lightning bolts making its way all the way down from the cloud towards the surface. So that continues to be an issue along with these heavy wind gusts. And you can even see some of the heavy rain bands when the lightning kind of lights up the frame just perfectly there out in Ackerman. Let's take a look. Ooh, actually, let's take a look out here in Carthage. And this is, yeah, I mean, we're in the storm down here in Carthage. 81 degrees, feels like 84. I mean, we're in those flashes of lightning, but we can't see anything because we're in that blinding rainfall right now. So you guys out there, I mean, I feel like I need to put a flash warning on this screen with just how constant these lightning strikes are and continuing to kind of illuminate your screen here. So feels like 84. Y'all are going to continue to cool off really quickly as this lightning continues to ring out just south of our viewing area. Let's see if we can get another great shot out here towards Philadelphia and might be just kind of outside of it so we can actually see what was happening out there in Carthage. I mean, yeah, there's those flashes of lightning. 81 degrees feels like 84, of course. Pretty close to where you guys were in Carthage. So not a surprise that those temperatures and feels like values are pretty similar. So yeah, again, I mean, energetic storms continue to just fire off all across North Mississippi. But I know some of you guys are asking in the comments, Troy saying lots of lightning. Thank you for your work. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We want to make sure to keep you guys updated. We have an excellent team and love being a part of it and helping everybody out. So definitely glad that you're tuning in. Raining and flashing again in Solid County. That's what Jason mentioned earlier. Meteorologist Taylor Hunt saying you're doing great, Caleb. Busy day. Very busy day here in North Mississippi, but I appreciate you for tuning in and saying hello. Let's take a look out here in Tupelo as we're enjoying some drier skies. Reporting station, unfortunately, down, and probably most of them will with how eventful we were. Let's actually go to Pontotoc. That was an eventful place earlier on this afternoon and evening as you guys dealt with hail, wind gusts, just blinding rain, flash flood warnings. I mean, honestly, everything. And take a look at this. This is something I want to mention because I know this is a popular debate for those that don't know about it. Heat lightning, not a real thing. What you're seeing right here down here in Pontotoc and what you would see kind of down the surface is what would look to be heat lightning because it was so far away. No, those are actually thunderstorms. You can just see it from that far away. So it's always really cool to kind of see the night sky kind of light up out there in the distance. It's not heat lightning. That is not a thing. Unfortunately, it took me a long time to learn that. I think I've been interested in weather since I was a little kid, and I think somebody finally told me when I was in middle school or high school. I kind of thought that was a real thing. So heat lightning, it's not real. You're actually just witnessing a thunderstorm occur that far out in the distance, and you're able to see it. So kind of really cool to see that out there in Pontotoc, and I know you guys are definitely enjoying drier and calmer skies. Don't want any flashes of lightning or rumbles of thunder to be heard for a while with what you guys had to deal with earlier. Out here in Houston, again, y'all are doing a lot better compared to where y'all were earlier. Our reporting station's unfortunately going to be down. Y'all probably went through, I mean, not probably, y'all did go through quite a bit. Maybe that lightning continued to strike that camera in the tower. And thankfully, we still have our feed, but the overall reporting station not coming in. Let's take a look out here in Forest before we kind of finish our tour here throughout our cameras. Oh, I thought it just went out. Oh, okay, so we still have it. This lightning, I mean, really, this is probably looking up straight in the sky. And the camera just kind of can't keep up with it, which is how constant it is. So 79 degrees feels like 81. Constant flashes of lightning continue to sound out there in Forest. Definitely hearing quite a few rumbles of thunder as well. Let's see. I just always love our cameras. Let's go down here in Calhoun County, see if we can get another shot of some of these thunderstorms out in the distance. So this is out here in Pittsboro, and I actually want to turn this one south if it's not already, which I just saw a flash of lightning. So it probably is, because I don't see it here on this screen. It is facing northeast. So I bet it's looking at some of those thunderstorms happening out there in Alabama. So there you go. Another prime example that it's not heat lightning occurring out there. It's actually just kind of some thunderstorms continuing to sound out in the distance. So we're looking northeast. We want to look south. I bet you're going to be able to tell exactly when we're facing the right direction. Let's continue to look. This is further east. It can't be. Let's see. Let's keep going. I know you're going to miss it right before. There we go, because I always overshoot it. So let's go back just a little bit. Take a look at kind of those constant flashes of lightning. There we go. We almost have it lined up perfectly. Sorry, my system's kind of just a little bit behind. It's been working hard today with everything going on. But we're talking about quite a few flashes of lightning still with those thunderstorms out there in the distance. This is out here kind of viewing it from Calhoun County out in Pittsboro, and you can see it off in the distance, just constant rumbles. And there we go. Those are those crawlers I was talking about earlier towards the top of a thunderstorm when we were talking about the anvil and how it kind of hits the tropopause. There's a max limit of where clouds can actually develop. So it hits that, starts to fan on out, and we can see some lightning all the way from the top of those cloud tops. So kind of really cool. I like teaching y'all random stuff as these storms continue to move on out of our area. So we are now getting closer towards 9:45. There we go. And we also saw another warning get issued further out west. And honestly, not surprising because of the kind of development that we've seen further out west. And unfortunately, that is set to expire all the way at 10:45. So still got a ways to go for that as it just continues slowly inching on out of our region. But for most of North Mississippi, we're continuing to almost be warning free. We're still dealing with that out here in Holmes. Most of those showers and storms continue to push further and further south towards Leake County, getting closer towards, I need to freshen on my central Mississippi counties. Scott, is it Newton? There we go, Newton County. So you guys are still under that severe thunderstorm warning, which that one has been extended. That is all the way towards 11 o'clock later on tonight. So you guys still going to hear quite a few rumbles of thunder, experience flashes of lightning all throughout pretty much the next hour or so as it continues moving on through Neshoba, Newton, unfortunately portions of Kemper and getting closer towards Meridian and Lauderdale County. Y'all will have to deal with some of those showers and thunderstorms, but out here towards the southern portions of the Delta, we're dealing with that all the way up until 10:45. That's for Holmes and getting closer towards Yazoo City out there in Yazoo County. So that it will continue throughout the next, well, a little less than an hour. So we're still going to be talking about that here. Coming on up here in the next few minutes, that flash flood warning, I don't know if I'll be able to click on it yet because it always clicks on the severe thunderstorm watch, which they did extend that. So that is set to expire midnight. And I want to know how far north that goes. It's kind of blending in. So that's for Octibahaw. I bet you Lowndes is probably included into it. Noxubee. So yeah, we did see portions of this kind of get extended towards midnight as additional development could continue to occur. But I would expect that is for kind of this cluster. As that continues pushing further and further south, the chances for those stronger storms to develop, I would say, kind of greatly decreases as we head into the overnight period. So we're almost out of it. Again, most of North Mississippi doing a lot better. Wow, I just saw a great shot with our Pittsburgh camera behind the scenes. It was one of those crawlers yet again. But a good portion of North Mississippi almost warning free. It's for you guys out there towards Holmes County in our coverage area where we're still dealing with some of those showers and storms, but we are finally returning to drier, calmer, and honestly, I can't even say milder conditions. We're finally starting to feel a lot better here across our viewing area. That continues to be an excellent thing. We're dealing with that flash flood warning, but thankfully not really going to see any more rain added to it at this moment in time. So the ground, the drainage system, it'll slowly start to catch on up. I know Pontotoc received one earlier. Y'all are under that aerial flood advisory at this moment in time. But again, we're getting closer and closer towards drier and clearer, calmer skies here in North Mississippi. But I'm going to keep going as we get closer towards the 10 o'clock broadcast. So we'll get that fired up here in the next 9 minutes or so, but we're just going to keep going, kind of chugging along as these warnings continue sounding across North Mississippi, especially for you guys just west of I-55 and pretty much just along I-55, kind of seeing this additional development. So that severe thunderstorm warning is set to expire at around 10:45. If I were to kind of zoom in on this, we could take a look at kind of that additional development that continues to occur. Now let's see here. Let's move that down here a little bit. Okay, and then we'll move this back over here. Let's just see how this has. Yeah, I mean, they just kind of form and it just sits still. I mean, barely moving southeast. I mean, you could argue it started maybe around, yeah, Lexington, kind of that small little bubble. That was all the way around 9:16, 9:15. And it just continues to expand, build up with that updraft, and just slowly moves down Highway 17. I'd say the funny part with these storms today is that every time we're talking about the movement, they always seem to follow one of the highways. So that continues with Highway 17 out there in Holmes County. But that is exactly why that severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. And I am curious about kind of that development right there. Some of those brighter returns starting to come in. Let's take a look at our peak threats. And honestly, let's switch to our Jackson radar site. That can give us a little bit better visual. I'll kind of compare the two. Yeah, our Jackson site is going to be a lot better for these storms as it's kind of pushing closer and closer towards that radar site. But let's take a look at our threats. Again, we are still dealing with the potential for some hail. Our strongest and kind of most probable, if we were to talk about one, is during that kind of development we were just talking about and just southwest of Carthage as well. So we're still dealing with the potential for some hail. Now the overall intensity and I guess the peak no, I think intensity, I don't know why I'm trying to look for other words. We kind of went through that earlier on today. We did find some hailstones. Our meteorologist Gabe Maynor saw some in real time. You guys have done an excellent job sending in those reports of 1 inch or greater hail, or even not even meeting that. But the overall intensity for that, I think that has diminished into the overnight period. Now, we're still going to talk about it, but it's going to be more of those pea-sized hail, dime-sized hail, something that will probably quickly melt once it makes it towards the surface, especially with how heavy this rainfall is, but especially for that kind of this spot right here. That's probably our best spot to see some hail kind of fall right along Highway 25, just southwest of Carthage. We can take a look at that and how it matches up with reflectivity. I mean, let's see, was it from something earlier? No, I mean, that's probably still... I mean, I'd say that's a little bit more impressive just east of Carthage as those storms continue to kind of develop and push, but thankfully losing some of that value and kind of brighter returns throughout the past few scans. So that continues to be a positive as these storms continue to push closer and closer towards you guys in Walnut Grove. And I haven't tried it yet. It's going to be pretty hard, but honestly, with these storms still kind of maintaining its strength, let's just try to do kind of a storm track on it. I want to know how fast they think it's going. It's moving very, very slow. I want to look behind the scenes with this warning. South at 10. Yeah, we'll go 15 just to overdo it to give you guys a heads up. Because honestly, these storms, I mean, they really haven't disappeared completely. That was one of our concerns earlier, but they continue to kind of keep its momentum as we continue pushing into the evening overnight period. So let's kind of draw this out with that leading edge. Honestly, no. Let's clear that off. We can kind of start to see some of that boundary starting to form. And so we're going to go off of that because that's where you're going to kind of feel that gust of wind, and that could develop some showers. And you can see that kind of right here where my mouse is about to go. Take a look at that blip. That's that outflow boundary starting to kind of force some of that warm air up. So let's go. We're just going to go kind of, we'll go a little bit southeast. We'll go something like that, 10 miles per hour. And then we'll kind of read through this really quick. We'll change it, kind of extend it a little bit further. And I'll zoom this out for you guys. That way you guys can see what all we drew on out here. And I'll step out of the way so you guys can see everything that's happening. So Decatur right around 10 o'clock. Piketown around 10:06, Jeff 10:12, Eureka around 10:13, same for Blount Store, Lebanon around 10:18, Clifton 10:19, Gum Spring around 10:24, Wolf 10:33, Pines Bluff 10:38, Branch 10:45, and Bilbro's Corner, that's around 10:48. And these warnings, I mean, not even expiring until 10:45 or 11, and that's exactly why they have these going for so long, because we're not seeing these showers or storms move that quick. And I did it along that gust front because that's where we're going to feel that gust of wind first. And you'll notice it's kind of not perfectly along with those showers and storms. I'll redo it just in case kind of we don't see any more development. But the reason I did that is because we could see things form a little bit out ahead of it. So we'll just kind of go along the leading edge for you guys even though it won't make too much of a difference, but I want to give you guys the best look. So Cache around 10 o'clock, same for Union, Salem 10:04, Greenland 10:11, Walnut Grove 10:12, Midway 10:15, same for Rock Branch, Little Rock 10:25, Little Rock, Mississippi, not Arkansas, even though you guys are dealing with some of those severe thunderstorm warnings out there in Arkansas. Beach at 10:28. I think we'd all love to be at the beach right about now. Damascus 10:31, and same for Horseshoe and Balua. And we can actually kind of change this a little bit more, kind of to cut down on some of those and extend it further out, I believe. We'll go 20 miles here, just to kind of continue to give you guys a good heads up. So going past where we just were, Rock Branch around 10:16. Oh, there's Little Rock and Beach again. Around Damascus 10:31. Horseshoe. Oh wait, I guess we didn't really pick up on much. We're kind of getting in the sticks here in Mississippi. Of course, we kind of know how that works. I don't know if I feel comfortable going as far out to 40. I think we might as well just kind of wait for that. So we're still going to kind of deal with these warnings and kind of these showers and storms continue to push through North Mississippi. We've been dealing with that for a while. We're about to have to get ready for the 10 o'clock broadcast, and we'll continue taking a look at more model data coming on up. So that continues to be another thing to stay tuned in for as we get ready for the overnight period, and thankfully much drier air eventually funneling into North Mississippi. And unfortunately, before we can really start to enjoy that, we kind of have to get through this severe weather first before we can. So that's what we're going to continue tracking out here within the next few minutes. Before we start off our 10 o'clock broadcast, we're taking a look at these severe thunderstorm warnings, Matt, and looks like it may have frozen on my end. There we go. I think you're there. Still dealing with a few warnings. Can you hear me good?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I'm watching myself speak right now. Wow.
I don't know if you're running on a little bit of a delay. Ooh, you are.
Oh, this is
Am I as delayed as you are?
No. I can, when I hear you through my IFB, I can see you visibly saying that.
Ooh, I hope you're not as far behind as that looks there. I know one of the issues we got to fix there, but I'm telling you right now, I have the most ridiculous backward something kind of working here. So, well, we'll go ahead and we'll load in my 10 o'clock show. Then if yours is a little off like that, we'll play it by ear and pray to God everything works. It looks like news is all ready to go and everything's in there. Can you believe it? I'll let you do a push.
Look at us go.
We'll get rolling, and this might work. My only monitor I can see off is the side one, but sometimes that's the way it works. Okay, well, we'll go ahead and get rolling here for our 10 o'clock broadcast. So give us just one moment to sort of come in and get that going. All right?
Perfect. I'll go get that push ready.
At Vibe Aesthetics and Wellness, we believe confidence isn't just how you look, it's how you feel. From subtle, natural aesthetics to personalized wellness care, everything we do is intentional. This is beauty with purpose. At Vibe Men's Health, we take that same approach. We focus on what matters most: strength, energy, and performance. Built on real data, real medicine, and real results, we're here to help you look better, feel stronger, and live fully. Come vibe with us today.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 10.
Welcome in Mississippi Live at 10 as we get things kind of rolling away here. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. It is and has been an active day for severe weather here across a good chunk of the United States, including the state here of Mississippi. You know, what was initially a level 1 out of 5 severe weather risk yesterday obviously has proven to be more significant with damaging wind issues for today. To address tomorrow, make sure we're clear on that. We do not have a repeat performance on the way for tomorrow. Our coverage of storms should be significantly lesser. Heat advisories also seeing a bit of reduction for tomorrow as well. But as we look ahead, there are a couple of factors again that we are looking at. Obviously, a lot of storms out there. We're going to touch much more on that here in a couple of moments, but I do expect that we'll continue to have some thunderstorms into the overnight hours. At this point, our only severe thunderstorm warning as it stands at this moment, whoa, that went real slow, so I'm gonna have to bring it back up here into the North Mississippi. Apologize for that. But yeah, the only spots here where we're seeing, you know, that is back toward Carroll County, and then locations just a little bit to the south there showing up back toward Philadelphia. And honestly, it's just been a very slow go with those storms moving farther and farther south. Flash flood warnings do remain in effect for, of course, Webster, parts of Montgomery County and Choctaw County in effect until midnight. Again, more on what we have on Mama Justice Doppler radar in a minute, but I just want to kind of paint the overall picture for you briefly here. First and foremost, we're probably going to be, again, mid-90s for tomorrow. Still some showers and storms. 20% could be low. A lesser likelihood, of course, having thunderstorms than what we had for today. And hopefully that means we get through our Mississippi Live game of the week between Shannon and Aberdeen in good shape, as well as all other Jamboree games that we have out there for tomorrow. We are hot and dry for the weekend. Hot a relative term as we come down a little bit. And we'll talk more about that change there with the front moving into the area for this weekend. More rain chances next week. means more thunderstorm chances next week. A reminder that even if we are slightly drier as far as the air is concerned this weekend, this time of year, it's always something that doesn't necessarily last a long period of time. Again, more on that coming up here in a couple of minutes. But as we look out and about right now across the region on kind of the wider shot here, the first thing you'll notice again, that frontal boundary we were talking about, one of kind of two fronts we're looking at to the north, and we do eventually expect that we're going to see a more dramatic drop in temperatures. Well, that'll be a long time away. But in the near term, it's going to be at least a little bit. And a little bit is what we'll definitely have to take with that front kind of nudging in from the north and west. We do still have some folks, again, under that severe thunderstorm watch. That's what this green box is here, which has been kind of locally extended because of this until midnight. We expect the counties to be cleared off on the north side of this and gradually southward as those storms continue storming southward. You know, for a large chunk of the evening, we had very little movement. Last hour, they've really started kind of moving farther south, kind of eating into the moisture they have as they work to head down toward the coast. A pathway down that direction that is obviously going to continue to be fairly slow throughout the evening and overnight hours. So a look at Futurecast here continues to show, again, those storms gradually eating southward. We're at 10 p.m. here. Again, shows a few more in our area than probably the reality of the situation. As we head toward around midnight and thereafter, you will note that a few storms in northwest Mississippi kind of trying to show up, get a little closer here. Some of those do potentially continue as we head toward early tomorrow morning. The expectation, though, is even into the day tomorrow, some additional thunderstorms possibly could get regenerating and try to get going for a few locations there. So as we advance it here, again, overnight planner, some thunderstorms continue out there at this point and continue deeper into the overnight period. For one reason or another, it pulled off that percentage at 11, and that's fine. More on that here in just a moment. But obviously, power outages continue to be one of the main issues that we are still tracking here. I'm going to bring in our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, who is looking at how those are aligned here across the northern part of the state.
Yes, unfortunately, we're still talking about power outages, and we are starting to see that color continue to shift further on south, closer and closer towards central Mississippi. And before I start discussing those power outages, I do want to start off with good news. Pontotoc County, that was an area earlier that experienced almost every threat that we were talking about is possible today. There are no outages out there. So the local EPA is already doing a fantastic job getting you guys back online, and I hope that kind of brings some comfort to the rest of you guys dealing with outages. I know a few of us could have some anxiety from the ice storm and having those outages out for over a week or more. That's not going to be the case as we head into the overnight period, but we are starting to see those numbers climb. So let's take a look out here in Fort County, kind of for those guys out there in Choctaw. We're talking about 135 outages. It's not popping up on the screen here, so it'll hopefully catch up here in just a second. I might try a different tab if it'll get there. Looks like it's still just kind of stuck. But we're still talking about a few outages out there, and there we go. With Fort County out there in Ackerman, so 135 within that ring, 74, 36 too, a little bit more isolated, closer towards Ackerman. But as of right now, the city of Ackerman looks to be sitting pretty good. But central Mississippi, especially for Attala County and getting closer towards Leak and further and further on south, closer towards the Jackson region, dealing with quite a few outages. It continues to update every minute, but dealing with 3,396 customers affected within this area. That's for Carthage, Philadelphia, getting closer and closer towards Forest. Not really seeing that just quite yet as those storms continue to push on through, but Attala County and further on south into central Mississippi, we are dealing with some of those outages, and we can even look here on Entergy. All these red lines you see, just streets out of power. So unfortunately, those outages are continuing to climb as these storms start to finally push on out of our coverage area and unfortunately further and further into central Mississippi. And I do expect some of those showers and storms to continue causing more outages because they have been energetic, Matt, especially with all these lightning strikes that we have seen on them. I've seen quite a few bolts kind of make their way down from the cloud to the ground on our cameras. I think those are unfortunately causing more and more outages.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you're correct there on that, and we expect that number to probably continue to go up. So let's bring it back in here to Mama Justice Doppler radar here, showing where some of those thunderstorms are at this point in time. And again, the heaviest of these really south of Attala County, south of Pickens there, Walnut Grove, kind of in the path of this, give this a loop here over the course of the last hour. Again, spreading southward, largely just eating into where fuel is available, and still in many cases prompting, again, those severe thunderstorm warnings. Leake County, parts of Neshoba County, as well as back toward Madison County, and again, down toward Rankin, Scott, and Newton counties. Let's get a storm track on this here, this kind of grouping of thunderstorms as those continue to head southward. Speed on this entire group here has picked up a little bit. We'll say about 20, 25 miles per hour. That might be a little fast. Let's go back here just a moment. Just kind of verify that. Oh yeah, that's definitely, well, nope, apart from Kosciuszko, that would be accurate. So again, severe thunderstorm warning continuing for those locations we were talking about a moment ago there, as that whole kind of line there continues to kind of roll southward on this. So heavy rainfall, some gusty winds, sporadic wind damage has been one of the factors. And then, of course, obviously, significant quantities of lightning out of these storms as well, more than 1,000 on just this one section here. So clearly some issues along with that. Come up here in 60 seconds, we're going to have an update from Mississippi Live News related to, again, some of the issues that we had out there for today. That's as Mississippi Live continues. And again, a lot more in-depth coverage of these storms as they move from north to south through the area. We're watching Mississippi Live at 10. We'll be right back.
When C.K. Little opened his doors in downtown Corinth nearly 80 years ago, his plan was simple: deliver excellent service and exceed expectations. That's why we say a little gift goes a long way.
Growing up, Gabe was naturally curious. When he began to discover weather, Gabe just didn't want to know what was happening, but he wanted to know why it was happening. Gabe became fascinated with tornadoes, and it impacted his life. He wanted to pursue a career in meteorology. Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. And one thing about Gabe is he keeps his family safe.
Reserve your St. Jude Dream Home giveaway ticket by August 28th, and you'll be eligible to win the house and the bonus prize, a 2026 Polaris Ranger, courtesy of Dream Day Foundation. Visit dreamhome.org or call to reserve your ticket today. Hey everyone, good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Emily Leonard. The Daily Journal's Dennis Sid is zeroing in on some Tupelo Target details. He talked with the store's director, Leah Beauchamp, to get a little more information on what we can expect when they finally open these doors. Here's what she had to say. This store is big. In fact, the biggest in Mississippi, about 150,000 square feet. These are a few of the first pictures we are seeing from inside of the store. They are still hiring. They need to fill about 70 more positions. It's going to have a Starbucks and a CVS pharmacy, but there's no Target optical or clinic. And there's still no hard date on when the store will officially open, but she did say it'll happen sometime in October. Now, Dennis had a really great conversation with Leah, the store's director. You can read his story, his Q&A, and interview with her in the Daily Journal. Just scan that QR code there in the corner of your screen. $1.3 billion. It's the price tag on 170 construction projects currently underway at Ole Miss. Chancellor Glenn Boyce says the work will shape the university for decades, calling it advancing our mission. Big ones to know: new student housing at Kincannon and West Row, and new School of Accountancy building set for the spring of 2029. A new parking structure and data center upgrade are both expected to finish early next year. Beyond the campus, several fraternity and sorority houses are under construction or renovation, including new houses for Alpha Chi Omega and Sigma Alpha Epsilon. Meanwhile, demolition is continuing over at the TAD Pad. Crews with big machines are breaking apart the old basketball arena on campus. The nearly 60-year-old building is coming down, as you can see, just bit by bit. Very loud out there. The plan is to turn this spot into a new surface parking area to help handle growth at the university. From 1966 to 2016, the CM Tad Smith Coliseum was home to Ole Miss basketball before they moved it. The last game played in the Tad Pad was back in November of 2025. Demolition should wrap up by late October. We've been doing a lot of these stories lately, and this is a really good thing. A big manufacturing announcement coming out of Water Valley on Thursday. Solero Technologies expanding its operations to the tune of $14 million and 86 new jobs. The project also brings in 14 new manufacturing lines with upgrades to the electrical, IT, HVAC, and more. Solero Technologies is an automotive parts manufacturer and been in Water Valley since 1972. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on Mississippi Live. I'm Emily Leonard. Have a great night.
Friday, August 21st, don't miss the Tupelo Super Show benefiting St. Jude, featuring the legends of Memphis Wrestling. Reserve your seat right now at memphiswrestling.tv.
Serious, man. I actually drive better when I'm live. It just helps me focus. It just helps me focus, you know?
I have been going to Tupelo Smiles my whole life. When I was a kid, I was unhappy about some uneven coloring on my teeth after getting my braces off, which at the time there really wasn't a fix. I was recently made aware of a solution that would totally fix it, which is exactly what we did. They not only heard my concerns, but they never stopped looking to solve my problem, and that's why I love Tupelo Smiles.
Right now, from the Mississippi Live Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Laubheim.
You're watching Mississippi Live here at 10. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Laubheim. Bowling camera in Tupelo looked all around at storms today that were significant. Not a lot of those still significant at this hour, thankfully, this far north. Pontotoc, it was a completely different story. It was just hours and hours of being absolutely brutalized by thunderstorms producing large hail, in some cases just hail continuing for so long, and almost 7 inches of rainfall. I referenced the hail. Our meteorologist Gabe Maynor was there much of the afternoon, sent in a report again we had for you during our 9 o'clock broadcast toward the end of that there. But this might be one of our largest hail pictures, possibly our True Shield hail winner there. Caleb, how large is it? I mean, I guess that's partially still a question, but you think that's our largest?
So this is what I wanted to bring up to you. I have 4 pictures brought up, and in my opinion, I feel like this is the largest hailstone that we have seen submitted. We do not have a coin next to it. So it was between these two, where I think are kind of the largest in diameter and kind of our biggest hailstones. But if we were to pull up a hailstone next to a coin, although I think it's smaller than what we were dealing with those first 2 pictures, that can give us a more accurate measurement. But I'm really, in my opinion, I feel like that first image I showed you, I think is the largest hailstone that we've seen in diameter here in North Mississippi, Matt. And I can double check. If I had to guess, I know there were 2 locations we were talking about a lot earlier today, out in Pontotoc and Ecru. Let me get that location for you. There it is. We've had so much hail. I think it's Friendship Road out there in Ecru. So that was around 436.
Yeah. That's where we had the tons of rain, the biggest hail. Somebody's probably going to end up needing a new roof out there. True Shield, of course, good for that.
I mean, Ashley Furniture does.
Yeah. Oh, man. We'll look at those pictures in a second. Okay. So it's either that one there probably, or the last one you showed that had the coin in it. We need some kind of substantial proof that the one without the coin is larger. I know we tried reaching out to get one with the coin. It might have to be that one because that's the rule, because we can verify it. I think the first one's probably would have been larger if it had a coin or a ruler next to it. But you don't know how large the size of the hands are.
I know, that's why I was torn. That's why I was torn, because in my opinion, I feel like this one could be slightly larger, but because we don't have the coin.
Because the problem is different people's hands are different size.
Exactly.
We've always joked that Emily has freakishly narrow hands, And so, it's possible that she would make a smaller hailstone look larger there. So I think we're probably going to have to go with that one there. So we'll give the other one just a little longer to send in a picture with the coin. But what were our two biggest ones there?
So that one that we just picked, that was out of Friendship Community out in Ecru.
What was the
earlier this
name?
afternoon. It was, let me pull it up. That was Miss Brandy. She was also the one that submitted this picture earlier with some of that wind damage as well. So kind of, again, getting hit by both the wind threat and hail threat up there in Ecru and Pontotoc. I mean, that just continued to be pretty much the bullseye here in North Mississippi.
Ugh, man. Okay. We'll look at that Ashley Furniture damage if you have that up, because that obviously a big employer here in the state of Mississippi. Then we need to get down to somewhere where we have some ongoing severe thunderstorms. We've been in severe weather coverage for about 8 to 9 hours today, so I apologize that we're on some damage pictures here for a moment.
I might have to pull up the roof one behind the scenes, but I at least do have the sign, and this was out in the entrance that they mentioned out there in Ecru, and you can see 2 of those trees have been uprooted. I mean, the grass and kind of just mound just showing through the ground, and I can see if I can get that zoomed in a little bit for you guys. That way y'all can see. But I mean, let me see if I can. There we go. I mean, you can see the roots and stuff starting to come on up. That's 2 trees. They said it was blocking the highway. You can see a car behind not able to pass and move. So straight line winds and the damaging wind gusts, I mean, still just kind of impacting Ecru and Pontotoc County earlier.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that you kind of nailed it there. Straight line winds, the description on this and on all of these today. These are not tornado winds, but sometimes we kind of diminish what straight line means, obviously. Send in those pictures, iOS, Android. If you can beat that hail picture there from today, send it in using the app, put it next to a coin or a ruler or something of standardized size. It could be a ball, like if it was next to a golf ball. We know how big that is, and so we can figure that out. Appreciate that. Our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut. If you get that other picture, we'll try to hit it toward the end of the broadcast here, and appreciate everybody for sending in all of your chats there. I got to be honest, I've had to kind of hack around so we can make some stuff work here behind the scenes. It's too far away for me to read any of the stuff in the chat because I've had to change the way some of my computers are. So let me get a little closer here just to make sure. And Caleb's doing great. Agree with that. Amory, good. And again, just everybody, Scott County, the lightning is crazy. That's a pretty good way to describe it as well. Again, share your reports with us because unfortunately, in some cases, there remain obviously some power outage issues, and that will probably continue as we go into the evening. Of course, this is live in Philadelphia, showing the reason why, and it's all the lightning is the reason why. For our Max South viewers down there, you can watch us on this this platform as well as that one. Carthage coming in again, mix of lightning and heavy rainfall on that camera there, 79 degrees. Our Forest camera, by the way, has some data issues. That's why it kind of in streaming we refer to it as tearing. You'll see it looks a little bit blockier from time to time, and that's just because it's at a spot where we have a little interference. It's kind of messing with that camera there. 79, and obviously whether it's interfering or not, there's no question that there's a ton of lightning out of that storm there. So again, that line tracking southward here. Decatur, we're looking at about 1033 for you, getting there closer to Hillsboro. Where we have that East Hillsboro by about 1023. We're at Stratton right now, eventually down toward Forest at 1039. If it kind of continues at the pace it's going now, make its way toward I-20 and southward. As I clear this off, that kind of green line that extends beyond this here is our kind of edge of rain-cooled air there, and that's heading southward. And that's what has prompted, again, these severe thunderstorm warnings. It's that combination of not just the strong everything that we have there, the strong wind, but also, again, consistent gusty winds that will kind of go with this. So, again, fairly large pair of severe thunderstorm warnings southward, moving southward. And as soon as it kind of gets past there, we start to lose our coverage of it as well. But, of course, the Mississippi Live app has that no matter where you're at there. Wider shot here across the rest of North Mississippi. One of the things, Caleb and I were talking about in the commercial break, how many storms sort of develop behind this overnight, as we've gone through much of this evening without really having a ton of activity in some locations. And then obviously we've had copious amounts of rainfall, storm activity, and everything else, some other spots there. So bring it back in kind of the northern part of the state. Those severe thunderstorm warnings primarily south, and obviously we have some back toward the Huntsville area as well. But a couple little pop-up showers and storms still trying to sort of get going out there for a few spots as well, unfortunately. Or fortunately, because I think some folks need some rainfall. Yeah, that's one thing we'll touch on before I hand it back over to Caleb here in a minute. But as you can see, a couple of pop-ups in the northwest part of the state, a possibility, a sign that maybe additional storms could eventually get going. But on the wider shot, we don't show much out that direction, northwest, as many of us have really kind of used up a large portion of the fuel we had available today. I sort of referenced this a moment ago here. And my computer, by the way, is getting super slow. I've kind of hacked around something here. Give me a moment while this drought fire. I want to pull up the latest drought monitor. If I can get it up there, released today. I point that out because we do have some obviously expanding drought conditions for some and not for others. So the rainfall welcome in some locations, the flooding rainfall obviously never welcome where it is at there. But with our additional rain chances, we do expect to have some showers and thunderstorms that do kind of continue to develop as we head into the overnight hours. Our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut, again, joining us here with the latest on that. I'm going to send it over to the chroma wall so you can kind of pick that up there, Caleb.
Sounds good. There we go. Made it just take some time. Yeah, that's one of the things that we want to continue looking at here as we continue this broadcast with some of those overnight showers and storm development. Now, granted, as far as intensity and what a lot of us went through today, I'm not expecting that heading into the overnight period. But for those that haven't seen it, again, it's much welcomed as we're going to talk about those rain chances starting to eventually move on in. But as we can see here with our latest look, it takes till around 3, 4, 5 o'clock where we could start talking about some of those heavier downpours. Now, latest look and kind of just initial thoughts here, not looking at that same level of intensity that we were talking about maybe being the potential earlier during the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock broadcast with some of those model runs. So that continues to look pretty good as we head into the 6 o'clock hour for your Friday morning. And I mean, you can't beat this. Take a look at your low temperatures. Low 70s all across our region. We could still say low to mid 70s, unfortunately, for you guys out there in the Delta. But 74 Cleveland, Belzona, 76 Greenville. That is definitely a welcome sight. I know you guys were starting off at around 80, 81 the past few days. So significant decrease. That is going to be fantastic as you start off the weekend, or at least one more work day until we can officially start it. School day forecast, low 70s yet again for your early morning hours, working our way up towards the upper 80s by lunchtime, mid 90s by the last bell. You'll notice not quite talk about those rain chances throughout your day tomorrow. They're not completely off the table, but with this drier air kind of moving into North Mississippi, all the energy and kind of just fuel we've used a lot today, those rain changes really starting to take the back seat, at least compared to the past few days we've had here as we head into your Friday tomorrow. So let's take a look at that here. We have this cold front pretty much right on the outskirts of North Mississippi, which still keeps rain changes a possibility, still providing that lift to what we have left over here in our atmosphere. We can see some of those showers continuing to move on through the mid-morning hours, getting closer and closer towards lunchtime. This is where we're talking about that 20% throughout your early morning, mid-morning hours, getting closer towards lunchtime. But I mean, notice in the grand scheme of things, most of North Mississippi staying dry. We can still talk about that heavier downpour pretty much just in between Clay and Chickasaw County. That's at 12:30 tomorrow afternoon. I'm covering up more and more showers further on south, and I can actually back that up for you guys. That way, for you guys out there in Pickens County, Alabama, y'all can kind of see where we could see some more kind of storm development tomorrow afternoon. And we'll also zoom this out too, because most of that development stays further south of North Mississippi. So for you guys in the southernmost portions of our viewing area, you guys do have a better chance to see some of that storm activity. So we're already at around lunchtime. And then as we head closer and closer towards the afternoon hours, take a look at how some of that stormy activity starts to kind of fire on up by the 2:30, 3 o'clock time frame out in central Alabama. But for North Mississippi, we continue to sit pretty good heading into your afternoon hours, getting ready for our evening and some Friday night lights. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. Most of that thunderstorm activity continues to stay further out southeast, not affecting us here. We're enjoying clear skies, but again, southernmost counties, you guys could deal with some of those heavier downpours later on in the afternoon and early evening hours as we get ready for some of those Friday night lights and some of those football games to kick on off. So make sure to stay updated with us here. We'll keep you guys updated and tune in tomorrow morning as our morning meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, she'll let you know everything you need to know as you walk out of the door. Now, high temperatures for your Friday afternoon, which we'll see if we come back over here to the wall, unless you want me to go back over to the BAM. Do you want me to do that?
Go ahead. No, I was gonna pull up the game of the week forecast, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, that sounds good. Our high temperatures, they're, of course, going to feel a little bit better, especially for you guys further on north. We're talking about low 90s, 91 in Iuka and Red Bay, 92 Boonville. Now, southern portions of the Delta, we're still talking about triple digits, unfortunately, but feels like values will start to match up a little bit closer throughout the next few days. Still pretty toasty and muggy as you go about your day tomorrow. So the water bottle, still a necessity as we go about our Friday, wrapping up the work week, but we're going to feel a lot better, especially heading into your Saturday, your Sunday, and even all the way towards your Monday as we get ready for the next upcoming work week. So
hold a second here while I try to bring up that football. You keep trying to advance it. Give me a minute.
I was wondering. I was like, wait a minute. He might be doing something.
Yeah, I keep trying to take it back out of play. I'm like, let's make sure to get that. Excited to again kick off game of the week for the first time this year. Shannon, again, we're not the full-fledged, full motion on it, but Shannon hosting the jamboree there with the folks from down in Aberdeen. We're excited to be down there tomorrow. It'll be our Ethan Foster. I think Gabe might be there as well. I'm kind of out of the mix because of a different activity. We're going to be over at the Super Show, the wrestling event over at the Furniture Market for some live hits tomorrow as well. So kind of a bunch of different things that we're working on, different varieties of athletics on our Friday night. Okay, now I'll be quiet, but I want to again just give some props to the folks there at Langston Lot for once again helping us to bring you this game of the week this year, and it will be hot and sticky. You know, I'm just honestly shocked. I was talking to the referee about this today, person who referees kind of around the region. Still kind of shocked they have not gone with hot weather scheduling tomorrow. I think 7 o'clock is still that beginning of that game, at least what's scheduled.
Yeah, no, a little bit shocked about that too. I think the northerly wind starting to kind of funnel into North Mississippi will help us feel slightly better, but I mean, we're still going to have a ways to go until really feel those effects all across North Mississippi, but it'll still be a warm and toasty start to the pregame, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's take a look at that here with your high school game of the week. Again, a big thanks to Casey and Lott for sponsoring our game of the week. Great organization out there, but low 90s out there for pregame for our game of the week, mid 80s by halftime, so starting to feel a little bit better, of course, once that sun begins to set, upper 70s by the final snap, and again, can't quite escape those rain chances. We just saw that here on Futurecast with our models, but it'll still be a little bit warm and toasty. I say that because heat advisories, well, unfortunately, they're still part of the forecast throughout most of North Mississippi. Good news is these are expected to expire for your Friday evening. That's around 8 o'clock. Hopefully, when they do expire, we don't see another extension, but more and more counties starting to not be included, starting to enjoy that drier and cooler air funneling into North Mississippi, so that continues to be a positive heading into the weekend. Now, we aren't talking about a severe weather risk tomorrow. That has been pretty much a theme throughout the past few days here in North Mississippi as we've been in this active summertime pattern. But thankfully, we're going to enjoy a much calmer and thankfully a much drier Friday as we get ready to kick off the weekend. So let's take a look at Futurecast. This is again with our higher resolution HRRR model. This is Friday at around 6 p.m. And as we continue even towards 7 o'clock, we're still dealing with some of those heavier showers. Can't quite escape those rain changes completely here in North Mississippi, but thankfully we'll enjoy those drier conditions kind of continuing into the rest of your evening overnight period. And that's going to continue pretty much all night long. We're enjoying mostly clear, almost partly cloudy skies. Those rain chances a little bit further out west. They kind of creep into the most northwestern portions of our viewing area, but overall coverage continues to remain very limited throughout our Saturday, even towards lunchtime. We're still enjoying those honestly partly cloudy, mostly clear skies. This is going to be very thin cloud cover. We're going to continue to stay dry. Clouds will just kind of struggle to continue to develop, but we can't escape those rain chances entirely. So most of your Saturday will be pretty dry. But throughout the later afternoon and into the evening hours, of course, we still have that sunshine. It continues warming everything up. We still have the potential for some showers, but we're expecting that these chances are just going to struggle a little bit more compared to the past few days here, just due to that northerly drier air continuing to filter into North Mississippi, but unfortunately still can't quite escape them just yet. And we'll deal with those showers as we get ready for the 6 o'clock broadcast on your Saturday. Now, high temperatures, you'll notice they're getting better and better by each day that we go by. We're talking about low 90s out here in Red Bay, 92 Red Bay, 93 Iuka, 94 Boonville, but again, triple digits for you guys in southern portions of the Delta, 101 Greenville, 100 in Belzona. But this is the positive. We're talking about triple digits, but feels like values, we're not skyrocketing towards the mid to upper, I guess, 110s, I guess is the right way to say it, but 103 in Greenville, 102 in Belzona, only feeling 2 to maybe 3 degrees warmer. Significant improvement as we head into the weekend. It is going to feel fantastic. So let's take a look at that 7-day forecast. Again, mid 90s throughout the next few days, but we're going to feel a lot closer to the temperature outdoors. It's not going to be quite as humid and sticky. We're going to enjoy those mostly dry skies. Can't quite escape them completely. Most of your day on your Saturday will be rain-free. It's later on into the afternoon and evening where we'll have to start talking about some of those rain chances. But heading back into your next work week, it's going to be the coolest part of the week coming on up. We'll still deal with some of those rain chances and back towards that summertime pattern where we're going to start talking about them throughout your afternoon and evening hours, but enjoying cooler conditions while we're at it. So that continues to be a positive as we get ready for the next work week. Of course, all eyes continue to be on your Friday and your weekend coming on up. Maybe the best of both worlds. If every weekend we're either talking about severe storms or miserable heat, looks like we can kind of find middle ground to where we could talk about a few showers, but cooler conditions, not going to be too bad for your Saturday and Sunday. So that continues to be a positive, but we're still dealing with some of those showers and storms at this moment in time. So we can take a look at that here on radar. We'll take a look at chat too, in case any of you guys have any questions. Scott County, somebody commenting on YouTube, Corey, saying the lightning is crazy there. So I know it has been energetic. Let's take a look at those lightning strikes and we'll pull it back on radar, go to right now. And then oh, wow. It's okay. Let's see here. There we go. Starting to kind of pop back up just a little bit. Okay. So we're talking about, we're zoomed out. We're kind of covering all those severe thunderstorm warnings out and about. So of course, those numbers are a little bit higher. But yeah, I mean, those thunderstorms out there in Northwest Alabama continue to just be energetic. But let's look a little bit further south here as these severe thunderstorm warnings continue. We're still talking about 3,000 strikes all within this frame here, and we can definitely tell where most of that continues to be. Now, thankfully, we're really not talking about many severe thunderstorm warnings throughout most of our coverage area anymore, so that continues to be a positive. Taking a look out of it with the Jackson radar site, that will give us a much better view of it as we try to kind of center this a little bit more, and I might let you kind of control it behind the scenes if you wanted to pull something up. But we're still dealing with those severe thunderstorm warnings all the way towards 11:30 with that one kind of out there in Canton, Yazoo City, Forest. You guys dealing with these showers and storms for the next little bit, as although they are moving south, just very, very slow. So let's take a look at that wind profile. We can definitely see where that is actually kind of interesting to see. Would that be kind of a microburst potentially happening with
so
the outgoing?
That's more downburst sort of obviously than so that's what it is. Like you had the spike up when you had kind of an outflow or some kind of boundary from the south that hit the storms coming in from the north. I think that's our issue there. You kind of have that collision. But that's kind of that's but once you get behind the storm, I guess. I think. Yeah, once you get behind the storm where there's you still have the winds up there closer to Roadside and Benton, they're still kind of going back behind it. Interesting. So it just kind of popped up right on the boundary, which I mean, obviously that happens a lot, but that's a fairly interesting one. You know, let's look 3D on that for a moment because I'm curious. I'm gonna have to go. You know, that's a pretty impressive little storm there on the north side again. Madison, that's probably our most impressive out of all these storms now at this point here. So still a lot to track as they continue to head south. The other thing that kind of caught my eye outside of this, we'll come back to those here in a second, But I did see finally the beginnings of some storms up in the far northwest portion of the state. Models have been pretty consistent about these trying to get a little more organized and come down. So still some things to track for a little while longer here, Caleb, as I'll turn it back over to you for a moment.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll continue taking a look at that here in North Mississippi, as it has been a busy Thursday so far. And like Matt just alluded to, I mean, we're talking about some of those showers and storms starting to pop up in the most northwestern portion of our coverage area out there in the Delta. So these are going to be some showers and storms I want to keep a close eye on, because if you tuned back in all the way at 3 o'clock, and even when I came into the office and me and Gabe were watching some of those showers and storms start to bubble on up here in Pontotoc, I mean, they just start off as these just tiny little bubbles here in North Mississippi. So that is going to be one of our concern as we get ready for the overnight period. Let's take this off here because we're not really looking down there in Madison, and we'll come back to reflectivity here. And let's go to our Memphis radar site to see kind of what those are looking like, and they already have some lightning strikes associated with it. So meaning that there is still energy and fuel out there for these storms to kind of almost latch onto or just start to kind of eat up here. And I mean, already impressive returns, again, in the bad way. Impressive just as far as how quick they're starting to kind of build on up and bring some of that heavy rainfall. You can see kind of that bright pink and purple right there and within that storm. And we're already talking about a lightning strike, a new one, right over the sea in cold water. So 3 strikes within this storm. Almost, I wonder when that lightning strike happened. You see that one right there? You kind of see it faint. Means it happened not fresh, but a little bit ago. Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. It happened a lot closer to the storm. I was like, we're getting them shooting far out from storms. They kind of call them bolts out of the blue, why you always want to be safe during thunderstorms while you're swimming in bodies of water. Even though it's not next to you guys, it can definitely reach that far. So I was curious if that's what we just saw. But I mean, even then, again, with this latest scan, I mean, bright pink and purple returns. If we take a look at what's called DBZ, kind of just how much energy is being scattered back, we're already up to 62. I want to look at echo tops. That was one of the things we saw or checked a bunch earlier as these storms kind of build up strength. Oh, the one south of Hernando, that one's already getting pretty high up there. That's what, 45? Yeah, 45,000 feet. So we're already almost at 50,000 with some of these storms popping on up with that vertical development. I'll look behind the scenes if there are any special weather statements. Thankfully, there is not. So that continues to be a good sign. Not quite getting to severe strength just quite yet, or at least not that fast. But I want to keep my eyes on those storms kind of within the next few minutes here. But let's go back down to Jackson, and we'll kind of come back to those storms. Of course, not going to be the best visual as those are a lot further away, which I'm still kind of zoomed in. We can zoom out just a little bit. Of course, these continue to be very, very energetic as those are pushing further and further south outside of our viewing area and kind of more into the southern portions of the Delta. Closer. Actually, no, let me see if our rolling fork camera has a good visual, if it's facing the right way, because I bet it is picking up on a lot of lightning out to the east. Oh, this is facing west. It might have a pole in the way, but I really want to see just in case, because we're going to get a great shot of just how energetic these are. Bear with me as I kind of search this up. Rolling fork. Is there a preset to make it a little bit easier? Unfortunately not. So let's shift this over this way. Looks like we either have bugs or something flying. I doubt those are raindrops. We're gonna have the pole. Yep. Unfortunate, but we can kind of almost frame it. Actually, those are kind of a few raindrops. Oh, well, yeah, there's that little shower out there towards Rolling Fork. So it could start to see some development out there for you guys. But that lightning continues to just constantly flash. If we can look, and I get out of the way, kind of through this tower. I mean, those are those storms that are severe warned right now out in the distance out east. So we're still just talking about energetic storms as these continue to build on up. Now, I will note that the one outside of Rolling Fork at this moment in time, I don't think has any lightning strikes associated with it. So that's a positive, not really seeing anything energetic. There's that kind of raindrops we were seeing with that camera. Let's take a look. I know we were talking about forest just a second ago as the storms are just north of you guys. I know y'all are probably going to be, yeah, blinding rainfall, or at least not going to be able to see too much out of this camera, as it might be yeah, it's going to struggle with what all is happening there. Philadelphia and Carthage. Let's take a look at Carthage first. 77 degrees feels like 79. We can kind of see some of those flashes out there in the distance. Let's switch this over. Oh, actually, I don't think I have. Oh, I can't do that one. That's a shame. Let's take a look at Philadelphia out here. And this one, hopefully we can look in a good spot. Oh yeah, there. That rolling forward camera behind the scenes is really picking up on that lightning. I still have that page pulled up. So yeah, we're just really dealing with energetic storms at this moment in time. I'm not able to switch those two cameras just south of our viewing area, but just heavy rainfall. It looks like we actually have a report coming out just outside of Philadelphia. This was at 9:22, so got a report of hail meeting that 1 inch in diameter criteria. So that was a little over almost an hour and a half ago. So these storms really still trying to dump out some hail. I think that continues to be a threat that we want to watch closely, even though that severe weather threat has been pulled off. These storms really doing their best to give us everything that they have left as it continues moving on out. And I would say, yeah, this storm kind of just northeast of Florida, kind of on the outskirts. I mean, it is definitely probably the strongest portion here within this frame, or probably the strongest storm that we have going on here in central Mississippi. So still dealing with some of that hail. Flash flooding could also be a concern with just how slow these storms continue to move. Thankfully, we're not seeing any more get issued. I'm hoping we can keep it that way. This severe thunderstorm warning ongoing out there towards Madison and further out towards Hines. That is all the way towards midnight as these storms just continue to slowly push further and further south. I'm hoping to kind of see maybe part of this severe thunderstorm warning out there towards Yazoo City get shaved. Now, I will say most of the time they do end up shaving these warnings as it moves on through. But just with how these storms continue to almost back build and just keep developing with these boundaries, they're probably going to keep it going. Oh, wait, this one expires at 10:45. Let's see if we can see one box removed and make it look a little bit less messy. So I was about to say, I don't think we're going to see that for too much longer as these continue pushing further and further south.
Caleb, I walked away a minute ago, but I gotta pop something up here before it's too late.
Okay.
That rolling fork camera, was that owl on this before?
Oh my
There's
gosh.
an owl right there. Look, Leonard. Hey, Emily. Come here.
I think it
This
was.
is one of the craziest things. Holy moly.
Wow.
Look at that guy. Just sitting here watching it. Maybe that's one of the North Mississippi storm chasers right there. There is an owl sitting here on this camera. It doesn't matter. Most people at home can't see you. They can't see you. You're off the camera.
Oh, look at that.
It looked back at the camera a minute ago here.
You think it's watching the lightning?
Yes, I think it is. But it looked back at us. Well, let's get over here.
I wonder if he looked because I rotated the camera earlier.
That is the coolest thing. No, but don't mess with it because we could.
Try to get a picture.
That is the coolest. Like, it looked back at us a second ago. Okay, we don't have to stay on it forever, but like, that is the deal because you can see its eyes. I was like, I wonder if it's like fake. There it is, right there. Look, you can see the eye.
Oh, now you've woken Penny.
Of course, I've seen it. It's an owl.
Look. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it looked like moved its head. Anyway, we can look at it behind the scenes here in a second, but it's watching the thunderstorm. That's the coolest, craziest thing.
Cool.
Oh my goodness. Well, there you go. Who knew?
I've never seen an owl so close. It was like, actually, we went to that.
Look at that. Anyway, okay.
except when we went to it.
Well, if you can stand there and wait, it'll look here again. We'll look at it behind the scenes. We have other stuff to. It turned its head downstream, but Caleb, you go ahead and take it away and check out some other stuff.
Sounds good.
Yes, we're
We'll
live,
keep that
Penny.
one standing still.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay, take it back to you.
All right, perfect. Well, let's continue looking elsewhere here as severe thunderstorm warnings continue, unfortunately, bothering the folks down here in central Mississippi. Again, pushing further and further south of our viewing area here in North Mississippi, but wanted to continue talking about these for a little bit longer because one thing that I want to continue monitoring, we're going to shift this over towards Memphis reflectivity. This is going to look really messy. That's because we're looking at it all the way further up north across the Tennessee state line. But one thing that I want to keep my eyes on here is unfortunately this development of more showers and storms starting to pop up in the northernmost portion of the Delta. So that continues to be somewhat of a concern as we want to continue kind of keeping our eyes on that. We were talking about echo tops at 45 and lightning strikes were around, I think it was around 3 last time we looked. So we'll start to see those continue to climb. Okay, we're right around 3 as well. So that is a good sign. I don't really want to see these continue to build on up. So we're going to still see kind of some heavier downpours. Let's take a look at, hopefully y'all can still see it if I open links. Worst case, I can go back in just 1 second. Let's see. I think they can see the owl. Okay, good. Let's take a look at our echo tops. Okay, perfect. That's already a good sign. We're seeing them kind of start their decline as far as kind of, I don't even want to say overall intensity. These haven't met anything super intense, but we're talking about cloud heights of around 40,000, I'd say. Okay, so we're not as high as 45 earlier, so I'm hoping that we can kind of be on the downtrend with those. Maybe they tried to build up as fast as they could. And I think that was kind of, yeah. So even that storm just south of Highway 4, excuse me, I'm already kind of pushed up close against it, just southwest of Evansville, pushed up to 45 before that other storm over Love on Highway 55 or Interstate 55. And they're already starting to kind of lower a little bit. So that is good news. And that's one of the things that we were talking about a lot with some of this northern development. Yes, we could still see some showers and storms overnight tonight, but are we going to deal with the same level of intensity that we dealt with earlier today? That's really the story. A lot of fuel and just daytime heating had to be a part of those storms to produce what they did earlier. We're already missing half of that and technically even missing some of that fuel that some storms used earlier. Now, the thing is, we haven't seen any storms in the northern portions of the Delta, so that's why we want to still kind of keep our eyes on it regardless. But it is good to see that these storms are already kind of struggling to produce anything and we're not seeing them build up quite as intense as what we've seen earlier on today. So just as an immediate thought, that continues to be a good sign. Like even somebody else in the comments asking, is Sardis going to be okay? You guys could start hearing maybe a few rumbles of thunder within the next few minutes and honestly maybe within the next hour or two. But as far as the intensity that we're dealing with further south into central Mississippi, I'm not envisioning that at this moment, but we're going to keep our eyes on it regardless. Another thing I kind of want to look at here, we are starting to see some of those showers and storms push in from Arkansas, getting closer and closer towards the Mississippi River. That's another thing our models were trying to pick up on earlier on today. So models doing pretty well so far on overall placement and kind of intensity, but really not expecting too much, especially at this moment. These were warned earlier, and it looks like they really stopped kind of, or started losing its head of steam here. But let's go a little bit further south where a lot more is happening. We did see that severe thunderstorm warning expire at 10:45. So if we were to look at, looks to be 3, expires midnight, 11:30, and 11. Okay, there we go. So we're all across the board right now, but these look to be kind of the last 3, kind of in this southern portions of our viewing area, not really in our viewing area anymore, but kind of starting to creep into central Mississippi. It looks like there's not much further downstream either. So these are actually the last 3 here in North Mississippi. So that is very exciting to see as we're kind of getting closer and closer towards no warnings ongoing here in Mississippi. And we'll say that those storms, okay, that'll expire 23 minutes. That's a higher end special weather statement. the storms that we were just talking about across the Mississippi River, these actually are kind of within one of those special weather statements to where it's kind of a step below a severe thunderstorm warning, meaning it's kind of right on the cusp and it could reach there, but we're going to issue this statement just to give you guys a heads up in case it were. So we are still dealing with some impactful showers and storms just across the Mississippi River out there into Arkansas. But anything severe for this moment in time, that is not the case. We'll keep our eyes on that as it continues inching closer and closer towards the river and the delta, and for you guys out there in Cleveland, which honestly, let's just take a look out there in Cleveland. We should be facing west, hopefully. That's typically what we're looking at. Of course, actually, let's see here. Cleveland. I'll see if I can, oh, freak. There we go. I'll see if I can duplicate this tab so we can keep the owl on in the background. And then we can change Cleveland. Okay, let's see here. We'll see if we can shift this. Oops. Won't help if I don't spell it right. There we go. Accidentally adding in an extra L. All right, let's change this. Yeah, this is facing northeast. Let's make this face west. And we'll see if we can maybe see some lightning out across the river out there into Arkansas. But hopefully it's not quite. Oh, there we go. It's just a little bit to the right. We'll shift that just slightly. But yeah, we're still dealing with some of those energetic storms. Now, I will say not quite as consistent as some of the storms that we're dealing with in central Mississippi. So that continues to be a positive. Oh, it looks like it may have actually been just a little bit further. Okay, there we go. I think we got it at a good spot now. So 79 degrees out there for you guys in Cleveland. Feels like 81, so still feeling like we're in the low 80s. But wanting to keep our eye on maybe some of those showers and storms pushing on in. And honestly, I can't help myself. I want to pull up the rolling forward camera again so we can see not only the lightning, but that owl that's there. I mean, that is awesome. Look at that. Like right when we tuned in, he's starting to look back at the camera, making sure he's presenting himself. So he's watching the lightning out there. We have a North Mississippi storm chaser tuning in with us and making sure to protect his city of Rolling Fork. So 86 degrees out there. Feels like 93. He is probably enjoying maybe a little bit more active night, as most of the time he's probably flying around, unfortunately having to deal with dry and just warm, humid, toasty conditions. But lightning, that continues to rumble out there in the distance, and he is just loving every second of it. I want to move the camera just to wonder if he'll like look back, but I don't want to scare him off. So I'm going to keep that still. It's already a great frame. I mean, his silhouette and the lightning, I think that is one of the coolest things ever. So we'll come back. Is that his eye? Is he looking back at us? This time with, yeah, he is. He's looking to his left now. That is crazy. All right. So yeah, we're still dealing with some storms here in North Mississippi as these storms continue to push further and further south. We're getting closer towards 11 o'clock, which means this severe thunderstorm warning should be set to expire within the next 5 minutes. So we're going to be one closer to warningless here in Mississippi. And I want to double check on our storms up here, see if they have any more lightning strikes kind of associated with them, but we should be sitting pretty good. We're at around 5, so they are starting to build up ever so slightly, but we're not seeing that same level of kind of intensification that we saw earlier. Now, those storms continue to really rumble and be energetic further out there towards Alabama, just south of the Tennessee state line. But for us here in North Mississippi, I mean, we're sitting pretty good. So I think I'm going to keep going until 11 o'clock. And then after that, I think we should be good to wrap it up unless Matt wanted to pop in and say anything else if we needed to continue covering other warnings. But with that one set to expire within the next 4 minutes, that should be a good sign as those continue to push further and further south. So let's go continue to cover those warnings throughout the next 4 minutes. As it's honestly really not impressive. I'd say the only impressive storm that we have going on is the one just south of Yazoo City approaching Madison and the Jackson area. Everything within this warning and that just really is not looking severe to me whatsoever. So let's zoom in on these here. Those warnings still have a little bit to go, but we're talking about quite a few lightning strikes. I mean, most of them are all within that storm. That's why this one's a little bit more impressive, very energetic, very healthy. I don't see much happening here with Morton and Newton at this moment unless it were to collide with another boundary. And that's what's going to be interesting. There's a boundary right there. So if it were to kick something out, let's see how that's moving. Okay, let's frame that up. That way you guys can watch it with me. Okay, let's see how. Are those approaching? No. Okay, so that's the outflow from the storm. And I don't think it's... Yeah, I'm not seeing any other boundaries out there that it could collide with at this moment in time. And that would make sense because there's not even storms further on south anymore, because those have since dissipated, but they do still kick off some as they kind of die on off. So I'm just not envisioning too much more for these kind of the central warning and this most eastern portion. I think this is still very deserved, and probably this warning is still kind of relevant because of that storm continuing to dig further and further southeast. So it's going to really cross that initial warning that it has set. But we're now 2 minutes away from this warning out here in Newton and portions of Lauderdale and Scott to be canceled. So once we see that occur, I feel comfortable enough wrapping this up, getting the rest of my stuff done, and while doing so, can keep my eyes on the radar because everything else seems to be behaving very well, at least for as well as we can be during some severe weather down here in central Mississippi. Are we good to sleep in Tishomingo County? Yes, I would say that you guys here in North Mississippi, I'll zoom this back out, especially Tishomingo County, I would say y'all are good to go to sleep. Models have really downtrended on the potential for some more kind of, I don't want to say severe, but intense showers and storms to kind of redevelop and move into North Mississippi. I think we're seeing that firsthand with these starting to pop up in the northern portions of the Delta. If this was earlier on this afternoon out there in Pontotoc, we would probably already be talking about a severe weather statement, or a special weather statement or a severe thunderstorm warning. And we're just not seeing that same level of intensification anymore, just due to that sun not really heating up the surface. It doesn't have that daytime heating to act off of, that fuel. The ingredients just aren't necessarily in place as what it was earlier on today. So for you guys out there in Tishomingo County, and honestly, pretty much just our entire coverage area, y'all are good to go to sleep. Make sure to have your alerts turned on in case any storms just try to misbehave and, of course, just do a little bit too much throughout the overnight period, because we are expecting some more showers and storms to kind of try to push their way into our region. But the overall severe weather and kind of event that continues to be out of our area, pushing further and further into central Mississippi. So you guys are good to go. We are not dealing with that. Get y'all's rest. It's going to be a beautiful tomorrow. At least more beautiful conditions are in store as way drier weather. Saw this storm pick up an object and break it. Looks like Jacob out in YouTube was saying that. I don't know which storm you're talking about, but maybe you're talking about lifted something up with some of those straight line wind gusts. And I know our meteorologist Gabe Maynard, he posted on Facebook a trailer flipped with some of these straight line winds. So I wouldn't doubt it picking up kind of some random items out there in your backyard. Abby is commenting, are we good in Columbus, Mississippi? You guys are continuing to sit very, very well throughout the rest of our evening overnight period. We are still under kind of that severe thunderstorm watch. Now that's set to expire at midnight. I'd be curious to see if they start to shave that off a little bit earlier than expected, just because the activity continues to stay further south. So I don't see why we need that still for Grenada County, Clay, Webster, for you guys out there in Eupora and getting closer towards Winona. I just really think that the overall severe weather has really diminished here, and we would have to see something very isolated to really try to pick up into the overnight hours ahead. So with that, we're probably going to wrap this up. I'm going to work on things behind the scenes, which means I'm still going to be looking at radar in case anything were to misbehave. But those warnings continue to stay further and further south of our viewing area. We continue to sit pretty good heading into the rest of our evening. And did they just... Wait, let me make sure I'm not seeing things. Those were the warnings that got, okay, expired. I think I'm just starting to see things. It's been a long day. We've been doing coverage since, I believe, 3 o'clock. So finally starting to see drier and calmer conditions return. Let's switch this back to our Columbus radar here. And then we'll take a look kind of at our coverage area, as it'll hopefully kind of start to catch on up here. And then I'll kind of recap what we're dealing with. And I'll take off these icons. That way we can make it look a little less messy here. We're dealing with drier and calmer skies here in North Mississippi. You can see a little bit of green further on south. Those are those severe thunderstorm watches that are still in place until midnight. Not expecting that coverage or intensity to continue. That stays further on south into central Mississippi. Some showers are starting to pop up in the northern portions of the Delta, but they're having to work really hard to try to do anything out there. I will say our strikes are slowly working our way up, but again, at a very slow pace, something that is definitely much welcomed in the grand scheme of what happened today with just how fast-paced these storms continue to build on up. Our total strikes are at 6, and I believe maybe 10 to 15 minutes ago we were at 3. So if that shows you how slow this intensification could be throughout the evening and overnight period ahead, I don't know what will, because we're really not dealing with that same level of intensity that we dealt with earlier today. So we're going to continue to be good to go throughout the rest of the overnight period. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. It has definitely been a busy day here in North Mississippi as we've been tracking these severe thunderstorm warnings since 3 o'clock earlier this afternoon. But we're finally sitting a lot better here. We're going to wrap this up as I'm going to go kind of behind the scenes, work on some things, get everything situated before we can call it a night officially. But until then, let me make sure kind of where we're at here in our broadcast. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so yeah, again, I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. We will be live starting tomorrow. That'll be at around 6:30, 7, and 7:30 with our morning meteorologist, Maggie McCauley.
For years, it's been the same formula. If it bleeds, it leads. You deserve better. We are Mississippi Live. We're focused on the stories that matter to you, to your community, to your family, because local matters. We are Mississippi Live.
Todd's in the hospital.
From vaping. 我们是我 vape 吗?
Not cool.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Talk to your child about vaping today.